Chapter 26. A breath of cold air. I greeted him expressionlessly, knowing that this would only scare Killua more. I caught a glimpse of Leorio's conflicted face and suddenly felt playful, so I recited the lines from the manga version. As expected, I saw Leorio collapse. I need a hunter license for my next job, which is basically true, except it's not the next job, it's this job, and the client is standing there watching the show. I don't want to be a hunter. I just came here for fun. Killua lowered his head when saying this, not daring to look me in the eye. Really, Killua? Maybe that was the case at first, but now, do you still think so? You are not fit to be a hunter. Killer is your calling. Even if ordinary people want to retire, there are age or length of service restrictions. Do you think you can resign as the next head of the Zoldyck family? If you want to quit, you must first earn back the family's investment, then train the next head of the family. Only then are you qualified to consider this issue. You are a puppet of darkness without a soul. You have no desires, no intentions. You rely on darkness as your power to survive, and your only joy is killing people. This is pure nonsense, but who wrote the lines like this? Hisoka smiled playfully, probably because he noticed that my persuasiveness was significantly reduced in these two sentences. If Killua's mind were clearer, he would have noticed it himself. You were raised in this way by my father and me. It's just that my education over the years has completely failed. This kid is still as arrogant as when he just came back from the Heavens Arena. He hasn't learned anything. Tell me, why on earth did you come here? I really don't want to be a hunter, but I also have something I want. Really? What do you want? Tell me. Silence. Killua bit his lip and said nothing. I sighed inwardly. The plot has not changed, I should be happy. But I have this impulse in my heart. If, Killua, you can raise your head, look into your brother's eyes, without any external help or pressure, and say out loud what you want. Of course, that would put me in trouble, and the plot would still have to follow the original story, but at least I could appreciate knowing that the child had grown up. Am I asking too much of him? After all, Killua is only 13 years old. But Aluka, who is the same age, is much more mature than him. Is it true that adversity can make people grow? Suddenly, I lost interest in playing pranks and continued to recite my lines with a blank expression. Anyway, I usually have a blank expression too, so Killua couldn't see any difference. Leorio's roar brought me back to my senses. My facial expression training came in handy. I raised a finger and said, "Then I'll help you kill him." Hisoka's smile disappeared. He gave me a look, "Cooperate with me, I'm not really going to kill your little apple, just trick my brother back home first." He glared back, "Anyone with eyes can see that I care about that kid, it would be strange if I didn't react." Well, that's true. But the next line. A killer doesn't need friends. They'll only get in the way. Ugh, Hisoka is starting to show his murderous intent. I knew he wouldn't like to hear this. He was sending murderous intent to Killua and the other contestants while protecting them from feeling Hisoka's murderous intent. It was really exhausting. Chairman Netero was much more stable. He didn't even change his expression when I used the nail to control the referee. I spoke my reasoning to myself, clapping my hands and pointing my fingers, putting on a very good show. Even if I kill everyone, my license won't be revoked, right? Chairman Netero, please. Well, that's right in the rules. The old man seemed to be enjoying the show. I should charge admission for the evil-minded person in the enhancement category. He turned around, gathered the murderous aura mixed with Nen, and released it in the direction of Killua. Would you turn against your brother for your friend? Impossible? Slowly raise your hand and concentrate your Nen on your fingertips. Don't fight a battle you can't win, isn't that what I've been telling you over and over again? Killua's face was already covered in sweat, and he stared at my fingers, stepping back involuntarily. Do not move. Just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Leorio's shouting had the opposite effect. Unlike them, Illumi Zoldyck knew exactly what Illumi Zoldyck could do. I give up. Well. He paused, put his hands together, smiled, and patted Killua's shoulder. I was lying to you, Killua. Taking a quick glance, Hisoka's expression was still terrifying, so I ignored him for now. I rubbed Killua's head and inserted the needle. You are not qualified to make friends, you are indeed not qualified now. When it's time to get a hunter license, I will tell you, but there's no need now. Your body is not mature enough now, and your family wants you to learn Nen after you turn 14 for your own good. If you don't learn Nen, your license will be revoked even if you pass the exam. I clearly know the plot of the original work, but I am still responsible for making sure everything develops according to the original work. Who am I kidding? The rest is the original plot. Leorio and Badoro fight, and Killua, who has been silent all the time, suddenly takes action, kills Badoro for Leorio, and then leaves alone. Watching his small figure disappear behind the door, I couldn't help but soften my heart, but immediately forced myself to harden it. It's a shock, isn't it? Remember the guy in the underground passage who took a notebook to take the exam? When you are full of confidence, you suddenly find that everything is lost. The sooner such a shock comes, the better. Because the sooner you are hit, the greater the chance of being able to stand up again. And if he continues to be so arrogant, there is only one outcome waiting for him. I won't spoil you, Killua. The lines in the manga version were later changed to the animated version, standing on the balcony, chatting with Hisoka. I finally understand why Gon was able to break my hand in the original work. He pinched the exact spot where it was broken when I first went to bed with Hisoka. Because of my physical condition at the time, the wound didn't heal very well. But this gave me an idea. This? Well, it's broken. It was at that time. Yes, that's the time, you battle freak. But it seems that Hisoka is still angry. Gon is my prey. Whoever dares to attack him, no matter who it is, I will not let them go. He glanced at me with murderous eyes. A killer doesn't need friends, huh? I understand. He turned and took a few steps, and when the time came for the original work to switch shots, he suddenly turned around. Well, Hisoka, we need to make this clear. We are not friends. Stronger murderous intent, this guy Hisoka. Also, someone is eavesdropping behind a pillar in the distance. Well, don't listen to what's indecent, and don't blame me if you die. We are fuck buddies. Boom. Everyone was petrified. He got playful again and raised a finger. Fuck buddy, also called beep. In a broad sense it refers to beep, in a commonly used narrow sense it refers to beep beep beep. A gust of cold wind blew by, making a rustling sound. Oh, so this is what the so-called weathering effect looks like in reality. I've learned something. Before everything, March 16, 1999, be a role model. I told Hisoka that Gon would definitely go find Killua, and Killua would definitely take him to the Heavens Arena to make money. So as soon as the exam was over, Hisoka went to the Heavens Arena to wait. I gave the top-grade tea leaves that I had prepared as a thank-you gift to Chairman Netero, and my work was done. The first thing I did after leaving the Hunter Association was to go back to the Shimeru wetland to look for Chihiro's body. But I didn't find it. There was only a pit where I marked it, and some pieces of clothing were scattered around. At that time, they buried her hastily because they didn't have enough time and were afraid that her body would be eaten by monsters. But now, killing her to repay kindness is not enough. Chapter 27. So, even her body couldn't be saved? It was a rare clear day in the Milsey wetlands, with white clouds drifting across the blue sky. I gazed upward for a moment, sighed, and took out my cell phone to call home. I already knew that Killua had returned home and was being punished in solitary confinement. I responded and asked my father for leave, simply stating that I wasn't in a good state recently. My father agreed without questioning the reason. Then, on the way back to the store, I received a call from Menki. "Please say that again, miss." "Hey, don't be like this. You can't just stay in this small town making desserts all the time. You have to do something after getting your hunter license." Previously, I thought that Kurapika dressing as a woman and Hisaka being entrusted by someone were already significant deviations from the plot, and no matter how much trouble I caused, it wouldn't be more embarrassing than those two things. I was wrong, truly wrong. But I never imagined such a thing would happen in the gaps of the original story. Look at it from another perspective. Since Leorio doesn't seem to have much talent, if he can't learn Nen, you can be freed sooner. I was speechless and looked to the heavens. Menki continued chattering on. I sighed helplessly and interrupted her. "Okay, I promise. Actually, I want to be Leorio's teacher. He's a good kid, and the world would be a better place if there were more people like him. So I want to do something for him. Anyway, just like I said to Krilo, there are some things that are difficult to achieve through their own efforts, but for me, it might be a piece of cake. But Killua's brother, Krilo's boss, and now Leorio's teacher. If someone were to come out now and say, actually, Gon was born because I accidentally traveled back in time and used the pregnancy stone, I wouldn't be too surprised, but I might consider suicide by hitting a block of tofu. Well, if that's the case, Gon was born by Jing alone. Using the pregnancy stone is more likely. Even if he looks like his father but not his mother, he shouldn't be this similar." I was distracted and chatted with Menki with some words, and then I heard her say, "They actually have that kind of relationship. What a shame for that face. Should I say thank you? Leorio's hometown isn't mentioned in the original work, but since he wants to apply for a public medical university, he will definitely come to Liba City. So the Hunter Association would arrange Sophie, who is closest to Liba City, to be his teacher, right? But now, let alone Liba City, the three protagonists may not have reached Kukuru Mountain yet. I called home again and asked for 10 or so jobs within a radius of 200 kilometers. Anyway, the four protagonists won't separate until February 21st, and I have nothing to do for a month. While working, I thought about how to contact Leorio, and then confirmed that I should be an enhancer type. I thought that the other methods were either wrong or far-fetched. But before I could take action, this guy came to me himself. On February 23rd, I went to the library like the previous few days and found that Leorio was sitting at the table opposite my reserved seat, with medical books spread all around him, studying hard. My mind went blank for a moment, and it seemed like I had turned several paths of contact. Finally, I walked straight to my seat and sat down, staring at him and asked, "Did you just pass the hunter exam and your name is Leorio?" Leorio looked up in surprise and said ah. Then immediately narrowed his eyes with full vigilance. "So what?" He didn't say the rest because I had already burst out laughing in an embarrassing way. I almost fell on the table with laughter and waved at him. "It is Puff, live fish sushi. Ha 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 ha." Although half of it was an exaggeration, the memory was really funny. Then he saw Leorio's shocked and embarrassed expression. "How did you know?" Holding back my laughter, I explained to him, "There are hidden cameras in every hunter exam, and the highlights are uploaded to the hunter website immediately. All hunters except the current candidates can watch them freely. The number of hits on your video has set a record high in the past 50 years. Congratulations." The more I spoke, the more frustrated Leorio's expression became. By the time I finished speaking, he had already slumped over the table. I reached out and patted his head. "Come on, grown. It's hard to accept that you're suddenly famous, right? Poor kid. Let's get back to the point." After giving him 10 minutes of frustration, I reached out and picked him up, and asked directly, "There is no such job as a medical hunter in the hunter classification. Why are you reading these medical books? Are you going to take the college entrance examination? Well, Leorio's guard was gone after the performance just now, and he answered a little sullenly, I want to be a doctor. Seeing my even more confused look, he explained, if you have a hunter license, you can go to a public university for free. I rolled my eyes and muttered in a moderately loud voice, I can't stand the fact that someone who can pass the hunter exam is short of money. Then I smiled at his helpless expression and said, then your top priority right now is not to read medical books. In the original work, Leorio gives people the impression of being simple-minded but strong-limbed. Among the four main characters, Vaughn is talented, Killua is skilled, and Kurapika is smart, which makes this kid completely become a green leaf that sets off the red flower, and he has the tendency to turn into spring mud to protect the flower. But in fact, Leorio is not just that kind of person. The evidence is that after listening to what I said, he calmed down and asked me what I meant in a relatively polite tone. Very good, plus 10 points. I released a bit of murderous aura to intimidate him, and I held my chin with one hand and smiled at him. Even if you pass the hunter exam, if you don't pass a secret test within a year, your hunter qualification will be automatically revoked. Without giving him a chance to jump up, I continued, I am the one in charge of your secret test. I can't tell you the content of the test now. If you want to know, learn Nen with me first. The test rules only say that the test content cannot be told to the candidates, and I indeed did not tell him. Thoughts are the free manipulation of the chi emitted from the body, which is life energy. Ordinary people lose a small amount of life energy every day, but through Nen, the energy can be retained in the body, making the body stronger and staying younger than ordinary people. When I said this, Andy jumped up impatiently and asked, can Ellie learn it? Aluka answered for me, no. Hey? How did you know? Aluka rolled her eyes at him, imitating my movements. If I could learn it, my sister would have taught me a long time ago, so I probably can't learn it. My sister must have waited until now to teach you for a reason. Anyway, teaching one or two is the same. After renting an apartment, I called Aluka and Andri, planning to take this opportunity to teach Andri to learn. I was worried about leaving Aluka alone in the store, so I had to close the cafe temporarily. Anyway, Krilo hasn't been to the store for a long time, so I don't really care about other customers. Now it seems that Aluka's condition is better than I thought, so it depends on Andri. Before deciding which method to use to open the aura nodes, I first assessed the overall qualities of the two children. The conclusion is that, unfortunately, these two aren't very intelligent. They can actually fall asleep when I ask them to meditate. If I use the normal method step by step, I'm afraid they won't be able to learn by September 1st. Besides, Leorio still has the entrance examination in December. There's no choice but to make a quick decision. The original work clearly states that Leorio didn't know what 10 was when he was in Yorknu, so I couldn't tell him. Fortunately, Leorio's idea was just to keep his hunter license, and his ultimate goal was still the entrance examination. So, after forcibly opening the aura nodes, it took a week to teach Leorio and Andri how to use 10, and then divided them into classes. I trained Andri here, while Leorio and Aluka read books together. Of course, I ordered him to maintain the 10 state while reading, and if he forgot, I would deal with him with a smile. Andri said that mine was more like a grin, and before I could do anything, Aluka picked up the heaviest book on the table and smashed it on his head. As the days passed, Andri's level improved steadily, and Leorio's 10 became more stable, and his mock test scores also slowly increased. Before parting, Chapter 28. I have one last gift for him. While Andri and Aluka were out shopping, I took out a large envelope and handed it to Leorio. After seeing the contents inside, his face changed 3 colors in a row. Leaning on the sofa, I nodded at the document in his hand. After signing this contract, your medical research results will be produced and sold exclusively by Ms. Lin. In return, Mizimlin will provide you with a monthly living allowance of 200,000 yen during your studies and a monthly salary of 500,000 yen after graduation. Additionally, you can withdraw 1 million yen worth of drugs from Mizimlin's affiliated pharmacies every month, calculated at cost price. The lawyer who drafted the contract couldn't help but ask me whether the other party was a medical research genius or if I was crazy. Holding 78% of Mizimlin's shares, they have to execute my decisions to the end, even if I am crazy. I guess the child couldn't speak for a while, so I continued. You also know what this contract means. This is a bet I made with myself. As time goes by, people change, but I'm betting with this contract that you, Leorio, will not change. The contract period is 70 years and cannot be terminated prematurely. But if you make me lose the bet. I released my murderous aura without reservation, looked at Leorio's pale face, and smiled. I will kill you. Now I'm giving you a chance to quit. You have 3 days to think about whether you want to sign this contract. The child responded by grabbing a pen with shaking hands, quickly turning to the last page, and signing his name. Then he threw the pen away and glared at me. I won't change. I withdrew my murderous intent, stood up, took the contract, and looked at it. I raised my eyebrows at him. You signed in the wrong place. Sign again. The contract costs 15,000 yen, plus the pen costs 5,300 yen. I will deduct it from your first month's living expenses. Before everything August 20th 1999 York New City. I was in a bad mood during this period, and all 3 children felt it. It is August now, and September is approaching. York New City, the feast of the Phantom Troop. According to the plot, Uvagin and Pakunoda will die, Kurapika kills for the first time, and Krilo is sealed. In addition, Kurapika's bodyguard colleagues and everyone who attended the first auction will die. I need to work with Grandpa Maha and Kurt to manipulate and kill the 10 Dons, and then pretend to be Hisaka and sit in the troops' base for a few hours. Otherwise, I am just a spectator. When do we want to see it? While thinking this, I received a call from home. In previous years, my family has been fully mobilized for the York New City auction. The workload and income completed during this period can account for at least 1/3 of the total annual total. Sometimes there are temporary commissions. Mom is an exception. Although she went to York New City with us in previous years, she only participated in the auction and did not work. This year, she couldn't even attend the auction. It seems that her former friend from Meteor City called her away for something. Very good, otherwise, she would definitely attend the first auction. I'm not worried that she will not be able to beat the troop. I'm worried about the plot. If there is a problem again, I don't know what to exchange. After hanging up the phone, I plan to say goodbye to my 3 children and leave. My father asked me to meet them in York New City before August 30th, but I plan to leave 2 days earlier to check out the situation. Andy's Nen has begun to show results and is about the level of Killua and the others when they first entered Greed Island. As for Aluka, she has been very interested in using poison in recent years. Relying on the strong physique of the Zoldyck family that is immune to all poisons, she was able to learn it by herself. Now, letting her and Andy compete to see who can knock down the opponent first, it is really hard to say who will win or lose. In this way, these 2 children don't have to stay in my shop. Remember what I said? I asked them after sending Leorio out to buy things. I said that in life, you should go to many places you want to go, eat different delicious foods from different places, meet all kinds of people, and do all the things you want to do. Just staying at home and studying is not enough. I kept you in the store before, mainly because you were not capable enough, and I was worried. Now, you can go out and have fun. Go out? What to play? The 2 children were a little dazed. Dina often writes back, doesn't she? You can go visit her and Andili's relatives. Aluka asked, what about the store? I waved my hand like I was shooing away a fly. Close it. I opened the store on a whim, and it was also a place for Sophie to stay. Later, I gradually no longer needed to use holidays to adjust my mood. This store existed just for Aluka. Now, as Aluka grows up, this store can no longer provide her with anything, and it may become a kind of bondage. Then, this store and my identity as Sophie can be abandoned. Growth is a process of constant abandonment. However, Lehman Town is due east of York New City, and the sealed Krilo might come to the store again. I'm afraid I'll have to turn him away when the time comes. The secret test of the Hunter exam is actually about practice. I told Leorio about this when he learned to practice. When I called the association to report, Menki yelled at me for changing the concept and letting him win. After I asked her if I wanted to debut with the sushi question, there was no more news. When I said goodbye to Leorio, he used honorifics with me for the first time. I will always remember your help to me. Thank you, teacher. It was a very touching scene, but I was also a little amused. But a few months ago, this kid called me a 3-level bastard. If he knew my true identity, I don't know what would happen. I wanted to tell him that the me you see is not the real me. The real me is someone you don't even want to know, but I didn't say it in the end. I stood on tiptoe to ruffle his hair and smiled to cheer him up. Be a good doctor, Leorio. It is certainly convenient to have the original work in mind, but it also depends on who is using it. For example, Leorio's mathematics, even if you give him a calculator and a book of formulas, he still can't answer the questions he can't answer. If someone like Krilo had the entire original work in his head, he would probably be able to reach the realm of one flower, one world. From this flower, he could infer the temperature, soil, vegetation, number of animals, whether there are humans living in the area, etc. But for me, not only do I not even dare to think about that realm, but I often run into problems. For example, I only think about my father, grandfather, Kurt, and the several wronged souls who are about to die here, and forget about Miki and Hisaka. It's easy to deal with Miki coming out to participate in the auction, just be careful not to run into him. In the original work, the Zoldyck family was divided into 4 groups in York New City. Killua was in the protagonist team, Dad and Grandpa were in the 10 Dons team, I, Kurt, and Great-Grandpa were in the troop team special support group, and Miki was just a bystander, just passing by. Well, I have to remember to wait until the Greed Island chapter is finished and give the Greed Island at home to Miki. On Hisaka's side, there was a text message. See you in York New, everyone will be there, heart emoji, translation, the group will gather in York New. I took my phone and went to find my father and grandfather. I had to inform my family as soon as possible about the important information. I was lucky enough to know the original work. If it were someone else, this piece of information itself could sell for hundreds of millions of ringgits. This guy Hisaka, please be less critical of him next time. What happens next is not much different from the original. After the troop robbed the auction on the night of September 1st, the commission from the 10 Dons arrived as expected, and on the other side, the commission from the Phantom Troop. Only one of the 2 jobs could be completed, and Dad and Grandpa chose the latter without any surprise. After all, compared to killing 10 powerful ordinary people and killing 1 Krilo, anyone with a brain can tell the difference. However, as a family of assassins, Dad and Grandpa would not show mercy when facing Krilo. The plot of September 3rd was one thing after another. Here, my great-grandfather, Kurt, and I dealt with the 10 Dons, and there, my father and grandfather faced off against Krilo, explosions, manipulation of the 10 Dons to speak, and contacting my father. If it were in the past, I would probably have to worry about how to manage the time, but now that I have a preliminary understanding of how this world works, I don't have to worry about that anymore. This world is built on the basis of the original work, and it has its own conventions. Chapter 29. If my copy of Greed Island hadn't been intercepted by me, it would have been auctioned at this event. In a world without world autocorrection, the number of Greed Island copies at the auction would have decreased from 7 to 6, leading to game over. However, in this world with world autocorrection, it automatically transfers a Greed Island copy from another part not mentioned in the original work. Is this truly anthropomorphism, or should we call it the torrent of fate? Considering that this world was created by people in the real world of the previous life who missed the original hunter, I seem to sense an overwhelming resentment. Of course, if you encounter a hard bug like Illumi ran away with the time traveler or candidate number 406, there's nothing you can do with any customization. Infiltrate, eliminate, follow the original operation. The 10 Dons speak to calm people, then contact Dad, inform him of the completion of the work, and return to the hotel. After a while, Dad and Grandpa come in with dust on their faces. Yes, they just demolished the house. That guy Krilo should be fine. Grandpa went straight into the bathroom, muttering something like not worth it and smelly boy, and Dad had to treat the poison wound on his arm first. I take back what I said, Krilo, you'd better go and die first. Standing on the hotel balcony and looking at the park in the distance, I knew that Killua and Gon were there, as well as Kurapika and Leorio. The 4 children were laughing in the sun, and only for this period of time, they were carefree. Then, they went their separate ways. There is a time for meeting and a time for separation, there is a time for joy and a time for pain. This is life. For example, it was sunny during the day and raining heavily at night. In this kind of weather, I received a BT text message saying that I had to go out and take Kurt with me to get wet. Not to mention that the original Illumi charged a fee, I also want to charge a fee now. The animated version of this part is quite detailed. I followed the flow, and when I got to the part where Hisoka sent me a text message informing me to run away, I was embarrassed. This part is not included in the animation or comics. Fortunately, I still have a lot of fan fiction in my mind, and I got inspiration from a radio drama, so I escaped. I don't know what kind of escape method this is, but I'm not going to go into it. I thought about whether to follow the plot of the radio drama for a second. After all, it was a niche original work, but I immediately rejected it with a frown on my face. I returned to the hotel, changed my messy clothes, and was drying my hair while thinking about what to do next, when suddenly my vision went dark. Before everything 4x year 10 month x day dialogue in dark space. It may be a little corny, but I have to ask anyway. What is this place? Who are you? Well, it's a bit complicated. Please take a seat first. I can create furniture with my thoughts. Is this the spiritual world? So I am really dead. Yes, you are dead. Now there is a chance to live, do you want it? Could you please tell me in detail? You mean, grab someone from this ordinary world and bring him to the hunter world to play Illumi Zoldyck for at least 13 years? This is a genius idea. Who came up with it? It's better to find a beautiful woman on the internet, maybe the chance will be better. What does it have to do with you yen% hash, yen woo woo? I'm sorry, but our options are limited. If we want to find someone whose spiritual frequency meets the requirements without affecting the direction of the world, this is already the best option. Just tell me I'm a nobody, what happens if I refuse? The world collapsed with a bang . Real? No, you should read it yourself. That's enough. That's enough, God, maybe it would be better if it collapsed with a bang. Now you know that our situation is very urgent. What good will it do me if I agree? There are a lot of things we can do within our power and without affecting the direction of the world. Then I want. Is this all you have to offer? That's all. Your tone makes me feel that it would be wrong to make a few more requests. I can't bear myself. So I'll mention 2 more. Hey, don't be so arrogant. One last question. How can I contact you if something goes wrong with the mission? I'm sorry, but talking to us is physically demanding and will have some impact on the laws of balance in the world. You can't contact us. We will contact you when the time is right, but only once. When we met again, I didn't recognize the two managers in front of me, but the darkness that spread to infinity around me was unique. The leader asked, "What happened?" My mission was going well. Pull me up here. Don't tell me something went wrong. xszj just finished. Could it be? I suddenly thought of a possibility that made my blood freeze. Did Kurapika kill Krilo? No. The black-clad manager looked at me hesitantly. The mission is over. The world is destroyed. No. Seeing my expression, the black-clad administrator shouted anxiously, "This world is already stable enough, and we don't need to follow the original work anymore." What did I hear? My legs went weak, and I fell onto a chair that had appeared behind me at some point. I pressed my forehead and laughed. "Ha ha, it's over." The voice of the black-clad manager pulled me back from my dazed state to reality, or the spiritual world, anything. "What are your plans?" "Plans?" I repeated the question numbly. "What are my plans?" "Do you want to go back?" The manager in red asked me, and then the one in black covered my mouth. "Go back? Where to?" The hand pressing on his forehead was a man's hand, with long fingers that could be turned into a weapon at any time. The clothes he was wearing were the combat uniform of the Zoldyck family, which contained nearly 100 small items. I appeared in the spiritual world in the form of Illumi Zoldyck. Where should I go back to? He didn't answer her question, nor did he need to answer it, so he changed the subject directly. "I killed a time traveler, Hunter exam, number 406. What happened?" The man in black bit his lip and replied, "In addition to us managers, there are some creatures that can create time travel points. They look for victims from different worlds and use the temptation of time travel to steal their souls. We don't have the ability to deal with them, but after that incident, the higher-ups eliminated them and sealed off all time travel points. There may still be some that are missed and could be accidentally encountered by someone." When she said the word soul, she looked away. Now I can be sure where my triple equivalent exchange came from. The question from Crimson just now reminded me, how are my family members in my previous life? They're fine. Would you like to take a look? No need. Names, appearances, and feelings towards them have been exchanged and forgotten. The rest have been worn out in the long 12 years. Asking this question is my last concern. Is this Hunter world running well now? Shade was finally able to look me in the eye. It's running very well. There's no chance of the world collapsing. You did a great job. Okay? I just feel tired now. Very tired. Oh, right, I straightened up and grabbed the sleeve of my black shirt. Ant. The original work only goes up to the Ant chapter. What happened later? What happened to that basic world? My Hunter world is a world created by the spiritual power of people in the modern world after watching the Hunter anime. So where did the original Hunter come from? Did it fall from the sky? That is another parallel world that already exists, which is conveyed to us through inspiration, dreams, and other means. Chapter 30. Before everything, September 7, 1999, I realized that today is right and yesterday is wrong. The author is Togashi, who then conveys it to readers and viewers. When Chihiro appeared, I found that the flow of time in the Hunter world I was in differed from that in the real world. Although I don't know what the Olympic Games she mentioned are, I remember the time she came very clearly. 12 years passed here, but only 1 month there. There was only a 1-month difference. I don't expect Togashi to continue drawing the original work. I can only rely on the direction of the basic world to provide me with some information. Crimson answered for me, the ants won, and all humans were wiped out. No wonder the author is that rich guy named Togashi. Well, I'm embarrassed. Is it because of this rich Togashi that he doesn't update? No, with his distortion, how could he be restricted by ants? Surely he is just being lazy. The voice in black pulled me back from my distraction again. You should go back. If you stay here for too long, your body won't be able to bear it. He decided to think about the ants later, then stood up and gave them a not-so-skilled smile. Should I go now? I guess we won't meet again. The man in black gave me a forced smile. The man in red opened his mouth, hesitated, and finally said, Actually, you're death at that time. Stop. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and maintained a smile. Don't say it. Just know it, don't say it. If you want to tell me, it's enough to have this feeling in your heart. If I were them, with tight schedules and heavy tasks to accomplish, and the target's mental frequency also having to meet certain requirements, would I search the world for someone who just happened to be dead at that time, or would I, after deciding on the candidate, create an accident? It's all in the past. After being a man for 12 years, I still have some tolerance. Anyway, thank you. Goodbye. When I woke up, my vision was blurry, my limbs were weak, and my whole body ached. It felt like I had fought with Hisoka. No, it felt like I had fought with Jing, if I could survive afterward. Someone was asking me something. I blinked hard and saw my father's concerned face. Illumi? Dad. My voice was hoarse, and my vocal cords felt like they were rubbed by sandpaper. Illumi, you suddenly fainted 3 days ago. We couldn't find out the reason. Do you know? Suddenly I wanted to laugh. I know, but I would rather not know. I tried to sit up, but my weak arms made me fall back on the bed. Grandpa silently helped me sit up and gave me a pillow to lean on. He handed me a glass of water, and when he saw that I dropped my hand halfway, he put the glass to my mouth and fed me a little bit of water. Please, don't be so nice to me. Dad, Grandpa, it's best if Great-Grandpa and Kurt can also hear what I'm going to say next. Dad glared at me for a moment, then turned to look for my great-grandfather and his family. Grandpa watched him go out, then turned to me and patted my shoulder. Illumi, don't push yourself too hard. He tried to smile bitterly, but the corners of his mouth twitched, and his facial paralysis training still got the better of him. If you knew the truth. Soon, all the Zoldyck members in xszj gathered in my room. I closed my eyes and began to tell this long and unappealing story. I'm not the real Illumi. It all started 12 years ago. Then the manager said that my body would not be able to bear the stress if I left for too long. When I woke up again, I was already back. After more than 2 hours, the story finally came to an end. My mouth was dry, and my throat felt like it was on fire. I kept my eyes closed. I was very timid, and I didn't dare to look at their expressions. Silence, suffocating silence. Then I heard my father's voice, and he asked. So, there's nothing wrong with your body, you just need to rest, right? I never thought he would ask this. When I opened my eyes, I still saw my father's concerned face. Grandpa beside me slowly said, Illumi, don't think too much. Really? Well, wait till you know what I'm going to say next. As if he couldn't breathe, he pressed his chest. I know people. It's fine if they are always obedient, but if they start to rebel and disobey orders, no matter who they are, they will inevitably think, what if it was another? Even though I know that another idea might be worse, I still can't change it. If it was the original Illumi, he would do better. This is human nature, and after I say this, human nature will be fulfilled. Dad, Grandpa, I'm sorry, I don't want to kill anyone anymore. The training I've been doing as a killer over the years has given me the habit of always carrying a few spikes filled with magic bullets on my body. Most of them are hidden in my clothes, but I also hide a few in my body just in case. The hand that was pressed against my chest held a telepathic needle. The amount of telepathic energy in it was enough to blast a hole 20 centimeters in diameter even for a Zoldyck. Do you want a living Illumi or a dead killer? Father, please choose. It seemed like I was unconscious again and woke up again. I was tired of looking at the pattern on the ceiling. Only Kurt was around. He asked, "Brother, are you feeling better?" Then he recalled what happened before I fainted, sighed, and said, "Okay." He let out a sigh of relief but fainted again. He moved his fingers, and the needle he was holding tightly and his hand was gone. I was discovered. The scope of his recollection widened, and then he groaned silently and closed his eyes. What did I say? Killing people is all out of my own free will. I have a choice. I can choose not to kill people, at least, not to kill so many people. I can fail once or twice in 10 missions. I can risk failing the mission by brainwashing them and sending them to a deserted island. But I didn't dare to take the risk. I didn't have the courage. I didn't think of a way. I chose the simplest and safest way. If I could do it all over again, my choice would not change. How could I, as a person like myself, say such things to my father? How could I, as a person like myself, put myself in the position of a victim and tearfully say to my father, "You forced me to do this? You should be responsible for what you do." A small hand was placed on my shoulder, and Kurt's voice was filled with tears. "Brother." When I opened my eyes, Kurt's eye circles were red, and his pure black pupils stared at me without blinking. "Brother, please don't die." Why would this kid say something like that? My brother's needle was taken away by Grandpa. "Brother, please don't die, okay?" I was so exhausted in a moment. I closed my eyes and couldn't help but utter, "Brother is very tired and wants to rest." What did I say? Even if I thought so, I shouldn't say it out loud, especially in front of Kurt. I suddenly opened my eyes and stared at Kurt, seeing him panic and put away the things in his hands. This kid is really promising. I don't know whether I should praise him for his ability or blame him for using hypnosis on his brother. After a pause of 1 second, I chose the former. Kurt is really good. He can use hypnosis. Dad and the others will be very happy when they know this. As a result, the child burst into tears and ran away. Was I wrong? My body was still limp, and I had no strength, but I could finally move. I propped myself up and sat up, closed my eyes and endured the dizziness for a while, then tried to walk. It was great, I only fell once. Chapter 31. Illumi. Then I changed my clothes and went out. It seemed that my father and his family had gone to work, which was just right. I needed to be alone for a while. I can't remember what happened on the way, but when I came to, I was already standing in my coffee shop. Everywhere I looked in the shop was covered with a thin layer of dust. How long had it been since I came back? I couldn't remember. My mind seemed not so clear anymore. I walked to the seat I usually sat in and sat down, not looking, not listening, not thinking. The sunlight shifted little by little, from brightness to darkness, and then became brighter again little by little. Killua always regards dawn as his light. The dance of dust particles under the light is beautiful. How many days has it been? I don't feel hungry. It's okay, this body can go without water for 7 days and without food for 10 days. And it wasn't that long, it seems like I ate a little on the airship and vomited it out. It should be fine. My anorexia nervosa, I remember that I used forced therapy to cure it a long time ago. It was really a long time ago. At that time, Killua and Aluko were still babies, Kurt was not yet born, I didn't know Hisoka and Krilo, and I hadn't killed so many people yet. After all this time, you still haven't adapted? According to the principle of survival of the fittest, creatures like me should be extinct. Extinction. It seems like a long time ago, there was such a name in some book. It's very funny, I laughed unconsciously. Then someone leaned over and hugged me, burning tears fell on my face, and said in a sobbing voice, "Don't do this." The stiff body and brain finally moved, trying to identify the source of the warmth. "Is it you?" Before everything September 9th 1999 The one who can't go back. Seeing ghosts in broad daylight. Was it an illusion? Or something else? My fingers moved, holding the 2 needles, and I was considering whether to attack. The other party seemed to sense something, let go of my hand, stepped back, and said hurriedly, "It's really me, I'm not dead." "I'll kill you." I stared at her, my voice hoarse. I don't know what I look like right now, but Chihiro looks like she's about to cry. No. Really. I'm not dead. When I traveled through time, I asked for 3 abilities. Please. Why? It was me who hurt her, so why is she begging me now? The sunlight shone in obliquely, casting a golden halo on her figure. Angel? Once again, she reached out to me. This time, I held on tight. You said you wanted 3 abilities. Was it when you traveled through time? I'm actually very interested in how you got here. We both almost lost our composure just now, and we were a little embarrassed after letting go. As I am older and a man, I had no choice but to take on the responsibility of changing the subject. Then I want an intelligence fee. Mocha coffee and marble cheesecake. With tears still on her face, Chihiro gave me a mischievous smile, her eyes sparkling. I guess one of her 3 abilities must be clairvoyance or retrospective vision. After all, I killed her once. If there was no reason, how could she trust me so much? Also, she knew about Sophie's existence. May rolled her eyes, and I resigned myself to my fate and got up to make the cake. When I stood up, I swayed and almost fell. Chihiro grabbed me with a panicked look on her face. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. After balancing my breath, I glanced at her. She hesitated to speak and finally let go obediently. By the way, this is my first time working as a pastry chef as Illumi, and it feels very strange. There weren't many ingredients in the store, but fortunately, it was enough for us to have a meal. Coffee and cake were served, and I made myself an egg tart and milk tea. Holding the steaming cup, I began to listen to Chihiro's story. I was at school for evening self-study and traveled through time when I was returning to my dorm. I didn't notice it when I was walking, and I found that the dormitory had changed after I pushed the door open. The door was already closed at that time, and I kicked and kicked but it didn't open. The room was like an office, with nothing but a desk and 2 chairs. After I found that the door couldn't be opened, I went to search the desk and found a contract on the desk. A time travel contract. At first, I didn't dare touch the contract. I just read it and put it back where it was. I waited for a long time, but no one came. I was really bored, so I started to write on the contract. The first item was which world to go to. There were several options, such as Hunter World, Death World, and Wizard World. I had only seen Hunter, so I chose Hunter World. The next item was to choose between an original character or an existing character. The original character's name, gender, and appearance. After filling it out, it was still the same as before. Nothing happened. I waited for a long time again. Finally, I was bored and picked up the contract again to read it, only to find that there was a signature area. After writing the last stroke of the signature, my eyes went dark. When I opened my eyes again, I was already in an unfamiliar place. I asked others and found out that I was on Greed Island. I interrupted her, "Were you on Greed Island when you first came here?" I actually have a fan fiction in my mind that starts like this. I hope she didn't swim back to the mainland. Well, Chihiro smiled a little scared and patted her chest. I remember that I could get a pass by beating up the director of the travel agency. I didn't dare to do it at first, but later I mustered up the courage to try it, and it was surprisingly easy to get it. Then I went to get another one and exchanged it with someone. I used the pass to exchange for his Greed Island for 2 years, and I would return it to him after 2 years. He could sell it or do whatever he wanted. As a result, a player war almost broke out because of my pass, and I realized that I was still very strong in this world. I thought about the crazy training when I first came into this world, and how easy it was when I first started working, and I felt a deep sense of connection, but from her description, there are more troublesome problems now. What does your time travel contract stipulate about returning to the real world? That place has multiple choices, and you can choose 2 at the same time. I chose that I can chant a spell at any time to contact the crossing point to go back. This method can also bring one person with me, and if I die here, I will automatically go back. Things are not going well. Do you want to go back? Ah? Chihiro was stunned for a moment and answered me, I don't want to now, but I must go back in the end. I sighed and thought, forget it, a short pain is better than a long one. Did you know that I fainted in xszj? Chihiro shook her head, question marks appearing in her eyes. I came here through the administrators. You probably know that I have a mission. Chihiro shrank slightly and nodded. It was painful at that time, right? xszj, after I helped Hisoka, the administrators contacted me and told me that this world has stabilized and my mission is over. At that time, they mentioned that in addition to the administrators, there are people who can create time travel points. After I came here, those people had been eliminated, and all time travel points were blocked. In your case, it should be that you encountered a fish that slipped through the net. I stopped and looked at her. Chihiro's expression was a little surprised, a little confused, then suddenly realized, shocked, and terrified. She stood up suddenly, knocking over the chair with a loud bang. Regardless, she stood there, closed her eyes, and began to chant a spell. Nothing happened. When she opened her eyes again, her face was pale, and she looked at me with despair. I stared into her eyes and said slowly, if you chant the spell to contact the crossing point and no one responds, it will be invalid. But since you signed the contract and can cross over, it means that the contract itself is valid, so the way back from your death here may still be valid. But we can't be sure whether it will definitely work, so I don't recommend you to try it now. Chihiro stared at me for a moment, then laughed a little nervously, saying, it's okay. After all, there is still a possibility. Really, I thought I could take you back. Chapter 32. Go. Her voice gradually faded as she turned her head away from me, her hands clenched into fists, her body trembling intermittently. She was holding back. The child didn't want me to see her crying. I sighed, stood up, hesitated for a moment, and then gently hugged her. At first, her body in my arms was stiff, then she grabbed my clothes tightly and burst into tears. After crying enough, the first words that came out of Chihiro's red eyes were, I know you like Hisoka. My face must have turned into an embarrassing shape, because Chihiro blinked and asked cautiously, isn't it? Of course not. You are the one who likes Hisoka. Your whole family likes Hisoka. I took a deep breath, forced a smile, and asked her, how did you come to this conclusion? Chihiro took a step back, my ability. And then began to blush, I saw it. Okay, I know what you saw. I changed the subject, depressed, what abilities do you have? Chihiro breathed a sigh of relief, but the blush on her face had not yet disappeared. There are many options in the ability column on the contract. It's a multiple choice question. You can choose up to 3. I chose other people's perspective, absolute defense, and limited rebirth. The range radius of absolute defense is about 2 meters. It ignores the type of attack. Things outside can't get in, and things inside can't get out. But I can't move when using it. Limited rebirth means resurrection 1 hour after death, and the body condition is restored to the best. It also comes with 10 minutes of invincibility. I chose 3 times. I think dying 3 times means that this world is too dangerous, and I should go back. You really told me everything. I was speechless. Doesn't this kid have any sense of defense? And you ran away like that before. Aren't you afraid that I will kill you again? If the world hadn't stabilized, I might have really done it again. But I knew about this, my family knew about it, but Chihiro obviously didn't know. She didn't even know that I fainted in HxH, so how dare she show up in front of me again? I began to seriously consider whether I should let her be more defensive. 2 chances to be reborn are not many. But it seems that Chihiro thinks it's a lot. Anyway, I can be reborn twice more. Besides, my other people's perspective ability, in addition to seeing what the other person sees, can also see the other person's thoughts, just like subtitles next to the target object. The font and color will change according to the intensity of the thought. I know you don't actually want to kill me. I put away my expression and stared at her with murderous intent. But I still did it. Even now, if I need to, I will kill you again. There are many people in this world who are stronger than you, and there are also many people who don't need a reason to kill. Do you think you won't die? Your absolute defense is very strong, but there are still places it can't cover. Is being reborn twice too much? If you die a 4th time, can you be absolutely sure that you can travel back? Do you take this world as real? Before everything, September 10, 1999, things to do. Chihiro didn't talk to me all day. I was reflecting on whether I was too harsh on her. This kid died in my hands once and didn't bear a grudge. Seeing me in a dead state, she ran out to comfort me regardless of herself. She trusted me so much that she told me everything, including the conditions for using her abilities. In the end, I scolded her and gave her a bloody scolding. Even if she didn't just know that she might not be able to go home, this was enough to make her suffer. So I planned to apologize to her before leaving the store. After I called her, Chihiro lowered her head and didn't look at me. I looked at her twisted fingers and said with a sigh, "Chihiro." Just as I said her name, she interrupted me. I'm sorry. What? Chihiro on the other side continued hurriedly, I know I was wrong. I will be very careful next time. I won't be careless again. Please. Don't hate me. How could I hate you? I didn't know what to say. I am the one who should apologize. No. Chihiro shook her head vigorously, her long hair flying. I was really too careless. I always thought I had strong abilities. I knew things that others didn't know. I was very strong. In fact, I was just a child. I used cheating too. I don't know how to maximize these abilities. If I keep thinking like this, I might die one day without knowing how I died. She raised her head, still with those clear eyes. Brother Illumi, thank you. With mixed feelings, I finally reached out and ruffled her hair. This way, I could leave without any worries. But, by the way, he could actually take her away. I need to go home. Do you want to visit my house with me? Chihiro bit her lip and thought for a long time, and finally said reluctantly, let's not do it. Why? A day trip to Zoldyck's house is a must-do item for traveling through the hunter world. That's what the fanfiction in my mind said. If you haven't pushed through the 7 doors and entered Zoldyck's house, have you really been to the hunter world? As a result, Chihiro frowned and sighed, I don't want to be regarded as a future daughter-in-law tilde. There is something fishy going on. As a time-traveling girl, there are several possibilities for not wanting to be treated as a future daughter-in-law by the Zoldyck family. Based on the existing data, the most likely scenario is the most likely one. Let me think about it. How does that sentence go? He asked tentatively. Unlimited attack. Chihiro blurted out unlimited suffering and then screamed, and her whole body turned into stone in a new shape. I waved at her. Actually, I was also a woman in my previous life. After parting with Chihiro in Lebanon, looking at her back, There was one thing I didn't know, whether she hadn't thought of it or she deliberately didn't mention it for my sake. I have killed many people. I would count them the first few times, but later I just stopped bothering. I could kill 20 or 30 people in one job, and I couldn't keep count. I thought, if I didn't kill them, but hypnotized them, gave them plastic surgery, and sent them to a very far place, would the plot go smoothly? Or, would a failure in 1 out of 10 jobs affect the plot? But it was just a thought, I didn't dare. At that time, I didn't have the threefold equivalent exchange, I didn't dare to take risks. It was the same when I killed Chihiro later. I only had one soul, and if I changed it, I wouldn't have a second one. If I negotiated with her first and then killed her, what if she didn't believe me and was on guard? I couldn't kill her, and everything would be over. But now she is standing in front of me, living proof, telling me that there is actually a second way to go, and those people don't have to die. Then, I am just a murderer. I can say that I am doing it for the world, for the greater good, but those are all excuses. I have the conditions to find a better way, I should be able to find a better way, but I didn't try hard enough, or I didn't even try. I can't think any further. Chihiro said she was going to join Greed Island to see if she could train with Killua and the others. It just so happens that I also plan to join Greed Island, but only after I finish some things, and if my family agrees, I also plan to take Miki and Kurt with me. Forget about Andre, but Aluka can't join, and I don't plan to separate them. What needs to be dealt with is actually using money to hit people. In the original work, there is an appraiser named Zepile. He is a good person. In order not to break his promise to Killua and others, he borrowed 5 million from an underground bank with his internal organs as collateral. The original work explained that he planned to take the hunter exam and then sell the hunter certificate to pay back the money, but unfortunately, in the next hunter exam, Killua eliminated all the contestants in the first exam. Now I really want to go to Greed Island and beat that guy up. Indeed, Killua didn't know why Zepile had to take part in the hunter exam, but now that he recognized the other party, would it be so difficult to let him go? So the family thinks he is a suitable candidate for the head of the family. Even now, this child doesn't care about anyone other than Gon. I don't want him to change this. Whether from the perspective of the world's values or from the perspective of the family, his mentality is quite suitable. If he says I don't want to kill anymore like me, it will be a big trouble. I just want him to. Hey hunters. Short break. Because YouTube likes it when I transform content, so here's me. Transforming. Right now. 1, 2, 3, neutral face emoji, sparkles emoji. Okay, done. Let's dive back in. Chapter 33. Learn not to push people into a corner if it is not necessary, because even a cornered dog will jump over the wall, and even a rabbit will bite when it is cornered. Fortunately, the matter of the immortal sect can be settled with money. 5 million Jenny may seem like a lot to him, but it's just a small amount to me. I called the Yorknu office at home and told them to send 10 million in cash, saying that it was a thank you for his help to Killua. If he doesn't want to accept it because of his pride, I can ask the related companies under my family to make some arrangements. At worst, I can directly deal with the underground bank where he borrowed money. In short, this matter is over. Sitting on the airship on the way home, I began to plan my next move. Well, next I need to deal with the ant matter, go home and give an explanation for my secret escape, enter Greed Island and deal with the bomb demon before the Genthru trio start killing people in large numbers, and then complete the level in advance to get the Breath of Archangel to save Batara's girlfriend. Lunashi can do what the Breath of Archangel can do, but like Kurapika, the strength of Lunashi's ability comes from the oath. His ability can only be used on Kukuru Mountain against the people of the Zoldyck family. The reason why the ants are ranked first is because of their importance. I don't plan to get involved too much in this regard. I plan to convince Chairman Netero and then throw it to the Hunter Association. Let them worry about it then. It's better for my family to stay as far away from the ant army as possible. Thank you. As for me, it doesn't matter what I do. Let my family fight ants to their death. I'll wait until all the Hunter Association members are dead. If we were to rank them in order, going home would definitely be the first priority. After all, my Greed Island is in my room, and to convince Chairman Netero, I need to go to Greed Island first to get something out. I didn't really want to go home. How could I face my father and grandfather? After saying that, he was so mad that he threatened his family with his own life. There must be a limit to shamelessness. But I can't pretend that nothing happened and go back to work and kill people as before. I vaguely remember that in my previous life I thought I was very tough and could kill people without blinking an eye if I didn't have to pay for the killing. But after I traveled through time and really did it, I realized that I couldn't do it. But how can I explain this to my family? According to the principle of survival of the fittest, my values from my past life should be eliminated. This world is a world where the strong prey on the weak, and my hunter license is proof of that. With a hunter license, I really don't have to pay for killing someone. Even I think that my values are outdated and unrealistic. How can I explain it to my family? As soon as I opened the door, I was attacked. 2 shells, one large and one small, rushed towards me at the same time. I reached out to hold them back, but ended up being knocked to the ground in disgrace. After all, 141 plus 31 equals 172 kilograms. I forgot how to calculate the acceleration. The 2 children held on tightly and refused to let go. I held Miki in one hand and Kurt in the other and managed to sit up and pat them soothingly. Kurt buried his little face in my clothes and said nothing. Miki lowered his head and said in a muffled voice, "I don't care, you are my brother." For the first time in 12 years, I felt like crying. Before everything September 22, 1999 The game begins. It seems like a saying from my previous life, either there is no harvest at all, or it rains heavily, but why does this saying always feel a little wrong? This is the situation now. I haven't had tears for 12 years, and now I want to cry twice in one day. The first time was because of Miki and Kurt, and the second time was because of my family's punishment. I was grounded indefinitely before reflecting on my mistakes. If I want to go out, I need the consent of my father and grandfather. Just like sending Miki to punish Killua before, it looks serious and scary, but in fact, it just provides me with an excuse to not have to work. The care at home is always so hidden. If I were a little dumber, I might not even notice this awkward tenderness. I don't mind being grounded. I was a stay-at-home girl in my previous life. In this life, except for my personality, everything else is the same. I can buy books online, and the packages will be delivered to my home by regular airships. I can play games at Mickey's place, except for Greed Island. I have never seen a better internet connection than at home. Miki has been staying at home for 10 years, but she still does some serious work besides eating snacks and playing games. But I still have things to do. Dad, Grandpa, what I told you before was what has already happened. In addition to that, I also know something that will happen in the future. Batara. I nodded. Yes, I have investigated the whole story. Batara and Elena met in October 1983. Soon after, Batara changed his will twice. Batara's legal heirs thought the situation was not favorable to them and hired a killer to assassinate Elena. In March 1984, Elena entered a vegetative state. Grandpa nodded thoughtfully, and seeing my questioning look, he explained, it should be shortly after that, Batara hired our family to kill all his heirs, a nephew, 2 great-nephews, and several distant relatives. I was the one who did it, 2 billion. That's right. I'm a little sweaty. Shouldn't I be glad that it wasn't my family that assassinated Elena? Obviously, those heirs of Batara don't have much money. He continued, after Greed Island was released in 1987, Badara heard that the game contained a universal cure and a rejuvenation potion, so he began to collect games and blocked information about the game. At this auction, Badara bought all 7 sets of Greed Island, with the highest price being 60.2 billion. The contract he signed with the game players states that the reward for clearing a level is 50 billion. I think we should be able to get a higher reward. Badara himself said in the original work that before Elena fell into a coma, they had planned to dispose of all their property and live an ordinary life. Dad and Grandpa looked at each other, probably thinking about how to maximize their profits. Those are not my business, continue. I started collecting intelligence in the game 2 years ago. I should have called it exploring strategies, but I was afraid my father and grandfather wouldn't understand. Now I know how to collect all the cards. The original game said that someone would use coercion to obtain dozens of other players' cards at the end of December. This is a good opportunity, and I have tried it before, so I have the ability to operate it. In short, I am confident that I can complete this task. Also, there is a tool in Greed Island that can convert thoughts into words or pictures and then print them on paper. I plan to use that tool to extract the original work in my mind, otherwise, it would be a waste of time if I draw or write it myself. Also, in the original work, Killua and Gon will receive training in the game during this period. Their teacher is a lady named Bisky, who is the master of the Shingon-ryu school. She is 57 years old but looks like she is about 10 years old. When I said this, I deliberately observed my grandfather's expression. There was a fanfiction in my mind that said Bisky was my grandfather's wife. I'm sorry, I really can't call her grandma until my grandfather confirms it himself. But Grandpa didn't even move his eyebrows. I know who I inherited my facial paralysis from. Bisky is a very good teacher. Killua and the others have made rapid progress in their nen abilities during this period, and the Greed Island game itself has a training quality, so if Dad and Grandpa agree, I would like to bring Miki and Kurt in with me. Finally, if Grandpa and Dad agree with my plan, there are 3 more questions. First, all of the above needs to be done in Greed Island. Although Greed Island is a game, it exists in reality. When starting the game, use the send button on the game console, and the player will be teleported there, so I need my father and grandfather to agree to let me go out. Second, after entering Greed Island, cell phones, radios, and other communication tools cannot be used, but as long as you have met them once in the game, you can use special cards to contact them no matter where you are in the game. Just in case, I plan to bring a butler with me and then send him out of the game so that we can be sure that if there is something wrong at home, they can find us. Of course, if Grandpa and Dad are interested, they can also come along. Third, the 2 medicines for Badara can only be taken out after the game is cleared, but that is for those who cannot enter the game. As long as you know how to read, you can enter the game and use various props in the game without being restricted by whether you have cleared the game or not. Chapter 34. I will write a list of props, Dad and Grandpa, see if you need it. Having said everything that needed to be said, I leaned back and waited for Dad and Grandpa to make a decision. On September 22, 1999, I entered Greed Island with Miki and Kurt. Goto also accompanied us. In addition to entering the game with us, he also wanted to see Killua with his own eyes. My grandfather and father were also interested, but unfortunately, they received a temporary job, so they sent Goto instead. Oh, forget it, don't think too much. I was the first to enter the game, and while I was waiting for them to enter, a blind guy used stick to me on me, and I nailed him on the spot. When Miki came down the stairs, I was searching for cards in his book, and luckily, there was a traveling card. Killua should be fighting Binolt right now. He, Gon, and Biscuit are all entering the game for the first time. With such a large mountain range, it is hard to say where they are training. But it is not difficult to find them. I have been running around in the game for the past 2 years. If I calculated based on a 20-meter radius, I have seen almost all the players. The font on the page where the player names are recorded in my card collection book was originally size 4, but now it has become size 6. Go together, by Nolt. A flash of white light passed, and the surrounding grasslands turned into rock walls. Gon maintained a punching posture and stared at me with his mouth wide open. Killua next to him crossed his arms, his body language very relaxed, but his expression was similar to Gon's. The lolly on the rock wall should be Biscuit. Chihiro next to her jumped down and ran toward me, shouting, "Illumi ni." Now it was our turn to be petrified. Mickey's buttered popcorn was scattered all over the floor, Kurt's fan opened with a bang, and Goto stood behind me. I couldn't see his expression, but I could clearly feel a cold light flashing across his glasses. I was standing in the middle of a group of stone statues. I was so embarrassed that I opened my arms helplessly to catch the Chihiro cannonball and reminded my brother. "Miki, stop being in a daze and get off Mr. Binolt quickly. He's almost been trampled to death by you." There was a big commotion next. Miki obediently stepped off Binolt, staring at Killua and asking, "How did you get the game console?" I didn't take any pictures. Killua's whole body was tense, staring at me and Goto and announcing, "I'm not going back. Dad told me to make friends with Gon." Gon also reacted at this moment and jumped up, pointing at me and yelling, "Killa's brother. I won't let you force Killua to do something he doesn't want to do." Chihiro held my arm tightly and asked me, "Brother Illumi, are you here to clear the level?" Goto took 2 steps back, bowed in a 90-degree posture, and asked me, "Master, please allow me to leave first." I was holding Chihiro in my left hand and healing Binolt, who was foaming at the mouth, with my right hand. When I didn't know which one to answer first, Kurt came to my side, pulled my sleeve and asked in a low voice, "Brother, is that sister your girlfriend?" At the same time, I could hear Biscuit's "Oh-hee-ee tilde." Middle dot before everything middle dot September 23, 1999 middle dot while the game is in progress. I was taught by my family since I was a child that when encountering a complicated situation, I should start with the simplest part. Goto, you can go now. Have a safe trip. Before entering the game, I took the opportunity when Miki was studying to explain game knowledge to my family, so he knew where to get the pass. Chihiro, Kurt, wait for your questions. It happened that Binolt's condition was basically stable, so I freed my hands to pat them one by one and it was done. "Miki, Killua didn't get the game console, brother will tell you later." The little fat boy, no, now the big fat boy, shrugged and ate popcorn. "Killua, brother is here to play games, not to take you back. But if you need anything, you can tell brother." As expected, the silver kitten's jaw dropped. As for Gon, I didn't plan to talk to him. Want to convince an enhancer? Good luck. Then, there was only one person left. Teacher Biscuit. I looked at Biscuit's Lolita Nympho smile with satisfaction. "You pretend, I'll let you pretend again." Practice has proven that in front of a time traveler with no patience for theatrics, a transmuter can only be defeated. I stood up and bowed slightly. "We are sorry to bother you. Killua hasn't contacted his family for more than half a year, and we missed him, so we came here unexpectedly. We are very grateful for your care for Killua." I took out the prepared family 40% discount card and handed it over, watching Biscuit take it with a frown. At the same time, I heard Chihiro chuckle, trying to hold back her laughter. It was a classic scene, right? My name is Illumi Zoldyck. If you have any questions, please contact me. If there is anything I can do, please tell me. Zoldyck family. I see. Biscuit would never be mistaken for a child. The look in her eyes was clearly calculating. "How did you recognize me?" "Wing often mentions you." "Wing never mentioned you." "He should have mentioned Sophie." "I once squeezed out Hisoka during the exam, and now it seems that Biscuit is not immune to it. It is said that I, Miki, and Wing once had an undeclared triangle relationship. If Wing knew that Sophie's true identity was a 1.8-meter tall crossdresser, I'm afraid it would be more than just a simple beating. While Biscuit was twitching, I waved to Miki and Kurt to come over and told them to wait for me for 2 hours while I went to get some useful cards. Miki looked at the surrounding stone mountains, weighed the options for a moment, and finally laziness prevailed. Kurt held me tightly. "Brother, can you take me with you?" Chihiro and Killua's ears perked up at the same time, and Gon puffed his cheeks, probably determined to hate me forever. I ruffled Kurt's head with a bit of amusement. "Not this time, we only have one rewind left, and only one person can move. Kurt, be patient." Got the kid settled, I called out the card book. Rewind, Macedora. Among the 100 designated cards, many are in series, such as the Egg series, 37 to 45, the Girl series, 46 to 48, the Handheld series, 49 to 51, the Elder series, 67 to 69, the Mad Doctor series, 70 to 72, etc. In my opinion, the most practical one is probably the Witch series, 64 to 66. Not only does Batara's condition for breaking through require one of these cards, but I also need it now. In the original work, Killua and his friends got a witch's love potion in the gambling city of Dulias, but in fact, the 3 series, Witches, Elders, and Mad Doctors, require finding specific characters to get all the cards. And the witch's hut is in the magic city of Macedora. Unfortunate man, are you ready to give up all hope? Ahem. The shrill laughter suddenly stopped, and the witch looked at me in disbelief, then looked at the crystal ball in front of her and asked, "Did you use a plastic surgery machine?" It seems that it is Alicia herself here today, not her NPC stand-in. Very good. I pulled out a chair and sat down, waving at her. This is my real appearance. I was in disguise before. Alicia glared at me across the table for a moment, then reached out and pinched my face without any hesitation. It wouldn't cost me anything anyway, so I let her pinch me. Sure enough, she got tired of pinching me in less than 5 minutes, sat back angrily, and complained, "You're a man who looks like this, where do we women stand?" It's not like I want to look like this. If you have any objections, go and tell my parents, I replied nonchalantly. I stretched out my left hand to show her as required by the plot. Let's get started. The witch with a hot body and enchanting looks ignored her queen image and rolled her eyes to the sky. Forget it, you even finished the question bank. Just tell me what you want, don't waste my time. Since you said that, I won't be polite, I called out the card collection book. I'll take one of each of the 3 medicines. I plan to clear the level this time. What were you doing earlier? If you wanted to clear the game, you could have done it a year ago. Now the rejuvenation pills have reached their card limit, and I only have 2 kinds of them. You can handle the rest on your own. Alicia took out 2 bottles of pills from under the table and threw them to me, complaining, "The slimming pills available now are the ones you gave away back then. No one has been able to get them for such a long time. What are those players doing?" This time it was my turn to roll my eyes. Big sister, do you think your place is so easy to find? Even if you find it, you have to answer those tricky questions correctly and then exchange them for even trickier things. It took me 7 days to do the question bank, and the result was more than 100 pages. But this reminded me. Chapter 35. Reaching out his hand to her, "Give me another bottle of pills." This time, I took the medicine and waited for it to dissolve before I gained it. Then I unscrewed the cap, poured out a pill, and swallowed it. Alicia was completely stunned. When I closed my eyes and began to use inner vision to feel the changes in my body, she realized what was happening and yelled, "Hey, what are you doing? You're skinny enough." I waited until I felt the pain and then opened my eyes to answer her, "This is for my brother. I don't feel safe without trying it." Then, before she could jump up and accuse me of not trusting their product quality, I added, "My brother weighs 140 kilograms. This medicine only reduces fat, without considering whether the skin will sag. If he takes 60 pills at once, you can imagine what he'd look like. Alicia thought about it. Then her face turned pale, she covered her mouth and took out a cloth bag, throwing it to me. I caught it in confusion, and after turning it into a card, I glanced at the instructions and was a little embarrassed. 109. Endless food bags SS3, can bring out delicious food, but the types of food cannot be selected. Alicia let go of her hand and said hoarsely, "This is a gift from the witch when her favorability reaches the highest level. Actually, I should have given it to you last time." She immediately covered her mouth again. Well, she was there last time, not the NPC. Maybe she forgot. This is a good thing. She looked up and asked, "Can you give me a few more?" Alicia glared at me, took out 2 more bags, and threw them at me, then jumped up and ran to the back to vomit. Poor child. Before leaving, I made her a glass of iced tea and put it on the table. That should help. Before everything September 23, 1999 The story of the cannibal ghost. After buying some props and clearing out all the spell cards, I went back to Killua's place. As soon as I landed, I saw Gon and Chihiro arguing, and the others were sitting aside watching the fun. I wouldn't be surprised if it were Killua and Miki, or even Gon and Kurt, but Gon and Chihiro? What's going on? What are you arguing about? Then there was chaos again. I suppressed the urge to seal my hearing with nails and listened patiently. Conclusion: Gon planned to let Binolt go, but Chihiro refused. I really can't understand why something that can be explained in one sentence turns into a speech. Gon is a textbook enhancer. Once he decides on something, no one can change his mind. Chihiro is no exception. Gon said, "It's just not possible," and defeated him with that simple conviction. Killua thought it wasn't a big deal. What Gon said was what he meant. Biscuit was watching the drama with that black-bellied, pseudo-lolly smile. Miki and Kurt were more interested in the potato chips we brought, so Chihiro had no choice but to turn to me. "How can we just let this kind of person go? Are we going to let him go and let him eat people again? Brother Illumi, what do you think?" I sighed inwardly, thinking I was going to have to hit this kid again. Let him go. He's been used as a punching bag by Gon for days. This guy is really pitiful. Chihiro was stunned, and Gon probably didn't expect that I'd agree with him, so he was stunned too. Killua chuckled and turned his head, clearly trying hard not to laugh. He'd probably never been hit by Gon's punches, but he understood. After she recovered, Chihiro protested in shock and anger, "Illumi-san. Why are you also?" "Chihiro," I called her name to calm her down, "do you really think you should ask me something like this?" Except for Binolt himself, who was kneeling on the ground looking indifferent, everyone else knew, if we count lives taken, Binolt is just a footnote in my tally. Chihiro's face turned pale. She bit her lip and looked down, but when she raised her head again, her eyes were more determined. "I don't care about that. Let's just talk about this person. Why should we let him go?" Apparently, Chihiro is also an enhancer. I knew it. Binolt, born in November 1963. First ate a human in the same month. By the end of 1993, his estimated number of victims was 14. He was wanted in 2 countries. He passed the Hunter exam in January 1994, entered Greed Island in October that same year, and has never left the game since. I looked at Binolt as I spoke. There was barely any reaction, only a slight shift in his eyes at the beginning. If we're talking about a fighter's pride, he'd rather die than be toyed with. But I don't pity him. When I looked back at Chihiro, the child had already figured out the issue. Greed Island is limited to 100 copies, and the maximum number of players is no more than 800, and they all know Nen. Chihiro whispered in shock, "You mean, he came in on purpose and stayed here on purpose?" I replied calmly, "Of course. It's also possible he was too stupid to figure out how to leave, but there's more than an 80% chance that he stayed on purpose." Don't compare him to Gon and the others. In reality, hunters are at the top of the food chain. With Binault's strength, he can do anything. If he only eats one person a month and avoids provoking the wrong forces, his bounty wouldn't exceed 10 million jenny. No one would go after a licensed hunter for such a small reward. I deliberately entered Greed Island so that when I couldn't control the urge to eat people, I could eat NPCs instead. When I spoke to Alicia before, she mentioned him. While she was upset that a cannibal had disrupted the game's rules, she couldn't understand why anyone would eat NPCs. In the setting of Greed Island, there's a big difference between living beings and objects. Inanimate items are like those in the real world, stones are stones, noodles are noodles. Hitting someone with a stone hurts, and eating noodles fills you. But living beings, monsters, NPCs, and some card props, are different. As Alicia put it, they don't fill you, and they taste awful. I have no pity for Binault. Some may think he should suppress his urges, but for a hunter, he's actually doing pretty well. He doesn't deserve my admiration, but he doesn't need my pity either. Chihiro said nothing. Neither did Gon. So I raised my voice, Mr. Binault, thank you for helping the children. You may go. After all this, Binault didn't say anything about turning himself in like in the original story. I waited until he took 2 steps, then called out, please wait a moment, Mr. Binault, there's one more thing I need to tell you. Binault stopped and turned, expressionless. Had he already accepted his fate? If you plan to leave the game, please note that Mizenland Pharmaceutical Group is offering a reward of 20 million jenny for your capture. Mizenland? It was Biscuit who asked. Good. Yes. I glanced at the others. They were probably all wondering the same thing. Arrest warrants are usually issued by the Hunter Association. Why would a pharmaceutical group issue one? From April to May 1998, 45 cases of cannibalism occurred in the Kalushan River Basin in Khaden Country, 400 times the normal rate. Over 90% of the offenders had no history of similar behavior or motive. Mizenland researchers suspected a biological cause and launched an investigation. They found a similar incident in late 1992, 19 cannibal cases in 2 months that went ignored by the local government. The investigation revealed the symptoms were caused by unknown microorganisms. The incubation period is about 2 years. Carriers usually die within 3 months of onset, primarily from heart failure. Mr. Binault, you are the only living carrier. Silence. Only the wind stirred. Then Binault spoke, his hideous face still blank. What will Mizenland do to me? As the only surviving carrier, they will likely dissect you to identify the source and transmission method, I answered honestly. Mizenland is infamous for this. Silence again. Then the cannibal straightened and bowed deeply to me. He said, thank you. No one spoke for a long while. Seeing that it was getting late, Biscuit announced they would camp here for the night. Chapter 36. A batch of tents. There are 3 gourmet bags, 1 for Biscuit, 1 for Kurt, and the remaining 1 for me. This was distributed based on possible future team divisions. It's impossible for this group to stay together indefinitely. Biscuit should take Killua and Gon for training. Kurt and Miki might follow me or go off to play games on their own. Chihiro has been following me the whole time and doesn't seem like she'll leave anytime soon. Miki protested that the gourmet bag was given to Kurt instead of him. That worked out well. I took out a diet pill and told him to take 1 a day, then sent Kurt to supervise. The child shut up, depressed. However, I kept most of the bottle for myself and only gave Miki 70 pills. Alicia said the drug first reduces fat, then muscle, then skin, internal organs, and finally bone. Taking too much can even be fatal. Although I trust Miki not to confuse them with candy, it's better not to take chances. Killua still looked a little afraid of me. Maybe I was too strict with him during the exam. Couldn't help it, it was the plot. but that confused look in his eyes. After revisiting the original work in my mind, I suddenly realized. I called out to Killua, who was trying to avoid me but also seemed like he wanted to talk. Killua, you have a lot of questions for me, right? Seeing him purse his lips and stay quiet, I smiled, but that just scared him more. Go ask Kurt. He knows everything. Those things. I don't want to talk about them again. Also, Killua, call home when you get the chance. After Killua ran off, Biscuit materialized like a ghost, wearing an amused expression. The eldest son of the Zoldyck family is really unexpected. I'll take that as a compliment. After dinner, we sat on a large rock and watched the stars. Chihiro quietly came over and sat next to me. She asked, Brother Illumi, will that Binault really go to Mizanlin? I said, yeah. He would. So he will really be dissected? I answered with some amusement, of course. But don't worry, he'll be anesthetized and cared for afterward. Because I gave the order. Chihiro was silent for a long time. I worried she might get depressed, so I patted her on the head and said, don't think too much. Before the results of the investigation, I think the same as you. Chihiro hugged her knees like she was cold and murmured, Brother. Am I? This kid. All right, I'll tell her the truth. Chihiro, you can't kill anyone. If you could, I wouldn't waste my words, I'd have let you kill Binault with your own hands as part of adapting to this world. She seemed startled. Come to think of it, she had never seen this side of me. I had seen enough of the stars, so I got up and walked toward my tent. Adapt to this world in your own way, Chihiro. I'm looking forward to it. Before everything September 24, 1999 Love in the city. A lot had happened the day before, and I'd planned to use the night to sort out my thoughts, but Kurt clung to me tightly. I ended up patting him to sleep. And patted myself to sleep in the process. When I woke up in the morning, it was already light. I could faintly hear voices and the sound of training outside. Kurt was sleeping soundly on my chest, his fair face looking more like a porcelain doll. I wanted to let him sleep longer, but he woke up as soon as I moved. He didn't say anything, just hugged me and wouldn't let go. Any other day, I wouldn't mind holding him all day. But I had plans. It took me a long time to persuade him to let go, half the morning, in fact. Even then, Kurt stayed close. Fortunately, Miki called him over to talk about something. I used the opportunity to cast the spell card, Target, Love in the City. I'd been to Love City when I was searching for guides, more than once. I even sacrificed my appearance. This city no longer held any allure. I couldn't buy spell cards here, and there weren't many designated cards. But it was the closest thing to the real world, and it had what I needed. The Guangxi building, where most of the mature, intellectual romance plots of Love in the City take place, has a magical copy machine in the copy room on the 12th floor. As long as one hand is placed on the paper inlet, thoughts or images in your brain are transferred to paper. I used to be obsessed with this function. If I didn't use the info spilled by the fallen NPC clerk, I wouldn't deserve the sacrifice I made back then. I hadn't realized it until now, but the original manga has over 4,000 pages. Thankfully, the machine's copy speed was decent. Still, I had to stand there for more than 2 hours. While waiting, I pondered. Kurt's still young, but he's a boy. Would clinging to me too much affect his personality? While I was daydreaming, a female NPC entered and ordered me to leave like a queen because she wanted to print something. If it were a real person, a little bloodlust would have solved it. But NPCs are immune. No matter how much aura or malice I used, they wouldn't react. Thankfully, I still had one free hand. Before she could get mad and attack, I pinned her in place with a nail. After a while, her noise got annoying, so I added another. Peace and quiet. It didn't last 20 minutes. Is someone bullying my Xiaoyu? Then as her boyfriend, shouldn't I do something? The NPC couldn't speak, but her eyes said, "You're dead, kid." Well, if someone is asking to die, who am I to refuse? I turned around, 2 nails in hand, and immediately froze. The red-haired young man at the door widened his eyes. The rose in his hand paused. Slowly, he narrowed his eyes and smiled. Well, Illumi clothes really do make the man. I'm used to seeing Hisoka in a clown costume, but now he wore a suit and held a rose, looking like some spoiled rich heir. If such a refined Hisoka really showed up, his playing cards would probably fly at him from every direction. He let out a long tilde, then walked closer and touched my lips lightly with the rose. You look beautiful when you smile, Illumi . For a moment, I remembered Chihiro's line, "I know you like Hisoka," and felt chills all over. I forced myself back into an expressionless state and turned my eyes. I spotted the frozen NPC girl and coughed dryly. "Hisoka, are you chasing her?" I didn't look at him, so I couldn't see his expression. After a slight pause, his usual BT voice returned. Really, no matter how hard I try, I can't catch her, it's so troublesome." The word sounded troubled, but his tone was totally carefree. I rolled my eyes. "If you did catch her, you'd get bored and toss her. Also, you were speaking normally before you saw me, what's with the sudden weird voice?" I told him seriously, "That's not how you chase this NPC. Don't be fooled by the flashy clothes. She's very innocent. Save her once, take her to see the sea or the stars, and you'll win her over. If you keep up this act, she'll only get colder. But her card only gives you a heart scarf, which is pretty useless." Hisoka's smile stiffened. "Illumi, how do you know all this?" I couldn't help but laugh. This guy, usually a shameless flirt, suddenly needing dating advice must be a new low. I'd gotten used to being around my brothers lately. I patted his shoulder. "I've been playing this game for 2 years. If you want, I have a guide." As I pulled my hand back, he grabbed it and traced circles on my palm with his thumb. "Do you like games, Illumi?" I didn't bother pulling away again. "Let him hold it, it's not like I'll lose a finger." "I told you about my family. Where do you think my second brother's otaku genes came from?" I replied with a smirk. Chapter 37. Not liking games has little to do with whether Miki is an otaku, but he doesn't need to know that. It seems there are a lot of things he doesn't need to know. Hisoka glared at me for a moment, then smiled. He leaned forward, lifted my chin, and kissed me. My brain was slow to react, but my body had already adapted to this man, and I automatically parted my lips to respond. I wondered, am I too easily swayed by him? Then I remembered, it's okay now. I don't have to keep suppressing myself. With that, I relaxed, and my body grew hotter. I heard him chuckle low in my ear as I dazedly responded, "Illumi is still so cute." His wandering hand slipped under my shirt, and Hisoka breathed, "Illumi let's do it . The room is a bit cramped, but if I change the angle, it should work. First, I need to get the NPC out of here." I glanced over, only to meet the wide-eyed horror of the NPC girl. She looked like she'd just seen a ghost in broad daylight. That snapped me back to reality. I was actually considering doing it with him here? Not should I do this. But how should I do this? This copy room even has a transparent glass door. I'm not worried about being exposed, but this is a bit much. If I wasn't so skilled at hiding my expressions, I would have squatted in a corner to grow mushrooms in shame. I took a step back, exhaled deeply, and muttered, "Forget it. This isn't the time or place." "Oh?" Hisoka tugged on my hand again, this time grazing it with his lips. "Tell me why not?" Honestly, it wasn't that I didn't want to. It's his fault for showing up out of nowhere. I wasn't even thinking this way until I saw him, and now I'm stirred up. So I picked the most absurd excuse I could think of. Too risky. My bounty's 100 million Jenny. If someone sees this, the price could skyrocket to 2 billion. We can't charge NPCs for privacy. Are you footing the bill? Seeing Hisoka's twitching mouth, I added, also, I promised my little brother I'd be back by noon. He can read minds. I don't want to taint his innocent heart. If my family ever heard me say I didn't want to corrupt Kurt's pure soul, they'd die laughing. But again, Hisoka doesn't need to know that. Still, the guy persisted. It's only 11. I really sighed and rolled my eyes hard. When have you ever finished in 2 hours? Hisoka's face twitched a few times before breaking into a smile. He opened his mouth to reply, but was interrupted by a beep from the copy machine. My project was done. I seized the chance to retrieve my hand and focus on sorting the mountain of pages. What's this? He asked. There are many things Hisoka doesn't need to know, but this wasn't one of them. The Book of Prophecies. Wanna read it? I flipped through the 20-centimeter thick pile. The first page showed Gon riding a frog with a dumb grin. Embarrassing. Upon hearing it was the prophecy book, Hisoka lost interest, gave me a quick kiss, and turned to leave. I called after him, wait for my update about the Nen Exorcist. He paused, waved without turning back. That guy. Before everything October 25, 1999 Chinese translation work. I thought that once I printed out the original work, I could relax and play with the kids. Reality had other plans. I came back carrying a stack of printed pages. Even Killua and Gon paused their training to check it out. Chihiro glanced through it and said awkwardly, "You really remember everything." The others weren't as enthusiastic as I expected. After a short silence, Biscuit, who had been staring at her own transformation frame, finally looked up and asked, "I can only read 3 words. Is this Chinese?" Chihiro and I exchanged a look of mutual embarrassment. The magical copier could convert the images in my mind to paper, but the source material I remembered was the Chinese version of Hunter x Hunter. In this world, Chinese is mostly found in ruins. I've spoken with a few linguists here. Their reading level is maybe elementary? Junior high at best. My grandfather likes decorating his battle outfits with Chinese characters, but he only knows about 5 idioms. I asked Chihiro, "You know the universal language, right?" She nodded, frowning. "Of course. I used to be part of a subtitle group." Gon raised his hand. "What's a subtitle group?" How could I not tear up at that? I packed up the untranslated pages and ate lunch first. Afterward, I sat on a rock, planning my next moves. Kurt came over and tugged on my sleeve. "Brother, I want to go with Brother Miki." The sun must have risen in the west. Kurt had been glued to me for days. What changed? My first thought was to check if he had a fever. He held my hand and shook it. "Brother, I'm serious." Brother Miki said I can't always rely on others. I should go train so I can become stronger. His big, black eyes sparkled. "I'll work hard to become stronger, so you won't have to worry about me anymore." I couldn't find words to respond. I just picked him up and held him. His small hands clung to my clothes, his little body warm. In truth, he was the one protecting me, right? Miki came over, beaming as he patted his chest. "Don't worry, bro. Leave the fighting to Kurt. I'll take care of the rules. Together we're invincible. And I'll keep working on my Nen. I'm a Zoldyck, after all." This little boy with puppy eyes had grown up so much. I smiled and ruffled his hair. "Well then, we're rivals now." I was touched when Kurt said he wanted to get stronger. I was proud when Miki said the same. So why was it that when Killua told me he wanted to get stronger, I felt uneasy? My mind was so full of question marks, I nearly bought charcoal pencils instead of carbon pencils at the card store in Love City. Almost got solid glue instead of 500 too. Thankfully, Chihiro came with me, or I might have ended up with a deadly shopping list, or worse, killed someone by mistake. We bought paper, pens, glue, correction fluid. Then we rented a small apartment and began our long journey of translation. Love City is the part of Greed Island closest to the real world. You can stay in 5-star hotels or modest inns. You can rent a villa or a studio apartment. You can eat at high-end restaurants or grab food from street stalls. You can shop at card shops, bookstores, bars, pet stores, and game arcades. It's basically the most modern area in the Hunter world. That's why I chose this place as our translation base. I wanted to finish the work quickly and without disturbance. And I wanted Chihiro to be in a setting she could adapt to. But there's one drawback: the air in Love City contains mild hormones to promote the plot. It enhances emotions and reduces self-control. Is love really just hormonal delusion? Fortunately, Chihiro seemed fine. She really did see me as an older brother. That was comforting. But my work efficiency dropped. Now I get why office romance messes with productivity. If you have to see someone's annoying face from 9 to 5, how do you focus? The story of Hunter x Hunter had long been etched in my memory. But I had always revisited it with an analytical mind, checking facts, looking for insights. Now, for the first time, I was reading it line by line, panel by panel, dialogue by dialogue. And I started noticing details I'd never paid attention to before. Things I took for granted as a reader, I now had to live out. Back when we were in the Shy Mile wetlands, that guy showed an expression. That sly smile, brows arched. Chapter 38. In the second Hunter exam, he didn't appear in the manga version, but in the anime, he made a cocktail dinner. If we get the chance, we should have him make it for us. I was literally sleeping in the dirt during the second half of the fourth exam. Now I'm reading the original work, putting the guy into the real-life context, and I suddenly want to see how things really looked back then. Too bad I can't see Chihiro's perspective from others. As for those 2 horror panels, Hisoka isn't interested in the prophecy book. If he were, I'd show him. He'd probably make the chubby cheek face again, right? Why do I keep thinking about him? I set my pen down and focused on the question. After some reflection, I concluded, it's just pent-up desire. It's been a while, and last time was intense. So, the solution is to do it once. That should help me concentrate again. Yeah. That must be it. Once I stopped worrying, my efficiency jumped. I still had to think about each word, but at least I could focus. Looking back on the earlier dilemma, I couldn't help but laugh. This must be related to the game setting. After all, this is the city of love. Greed Island has truly become Greed Island. The 50 billion Jenny prize is enough for people to risk everything, for other people's heads, for other people's blood. If someone still insists on falling in love in such a situation, I can only admire their strength of mind and lower body. If I were the GM, I'd release hormones too. Watching people fall in love is cheesy, but better than watching people slaughter each other. So I'm worried about Hisoka, right? But I have bigger worries, like Krollo and Kurapika. If I had known things would turn out like this, I should have kicked Kurapika out from the start. I know I'm just venting. Even if I hadn't taken Kurapika in, the outcome wouldn't have changed. The only difference would be that I could stand firmly on Krollo's side, instead of hesitating between the two. I have information on the Nen Exorcist, and I plan to give it to Hisoka, indirectly, to Krollo. But I also know that the moment Krollo is freed from Kurapika's chain, he'll kill Kurapika. Grandpa was able to analyze Krollo's counter conditions after just one brief fight. Would Krollo be unable to decipher Kurapika's? The conditions of the chain jail's absolute suppression must be incredibly strict. If I were Krollo, The first thing I'd do after gaining freedom would be to find someone to tattoo the spider symbol, and use them to face Kurapika. But I can't ignore a Krilo who was sealed and forced to leave the troop. And in the original story, it's only said that the Nen exorcist left with Hisoka, and then both Krilo and Hisoka disappeared. That really makes you wonder if they ended up killing each other. I don't want to think about it anymore. Back to work. Translating something tied to life and death is exhausting. I'm fine, my physical and mental endurance has long been trained. But Chihiro is clearly struggling. She stays optimistic, joking that it's a fast way to lose weight. I told her I still had plenty of witch's diet pills if she really wanted to slim down, to the point of death. Then I made her take breaks, 3 days of work, 1 day of rest. On those days off, I took her out to have fun. Shopping in Love City is convenient, no bags required. Everything you buy is auto-converted into cards. After one outing, I lay on the grass in a small park, and a puppy ran over to lick my hand. Chihiro sat up and played with it, smiling. Seeing her cheerful face reminded me of an article I read in my past life. Hey, Chihiro. I remember reading something that said, when someone lends money, they tend to like the borrower more than the lender. That's because the money's already invested, like a bet they want to double down on. Chihiro scratched the puppy's belly and replied, yeah, I've read that too. It's like the stock market, everyone says buy low, sell high, but they still end up chasing highs and getting trapped. It's weird, but kinda true. Yeah, it makes sense. The sky was blue, clouds drifting, pigeons circling. I smiled and reached out to the sky. This world is so beautiful. Before everything. October 30th 1999. The typhoon is coming. Translation work is busy and tiring, but also fun. Beyond the satisfaction, after a month of adjustment, I've gotten used to Chihiro's presence. Most of my family are cold-natured. Even a few extra words are a burden. When I first worked with Chihiro, I'd force myself to make conversation to avoid awkward silence. Now, even if we go 2 hours without talking, it's peaceful. Still, I'm often startled by the communication spell. The first time the spell book floated up on its own, Chihiro nearly hit me with a bottle of correction fluid. Miki and Kurt's team only contacts us every few days to report they're safe and chat a little. One communication spell lasts 3 minutes. I don't know where they're getting so many of them. But unlike a phone call, it doesn't occupy your hands. I can chat while still working. Killua's team hasn't called once, but that's expected. The funniest case was when someone used transfer to ask if I'd trade the 3 Witch series cards in my hand. Someone else used magnetic force to try robbing me. For people like that, I have a system, 1 nail to freeze them for 2 hours. A second to silence their vocal cords for 15 days. A third to make them summon their spell book. After taking their cards, I hit them with the bow of frustration to eject them from the game. I came here to clear the game, not run a charity. Most won't return once they realize they've been muted for 15 days. And even if they do, that's 2 weeks of peace for me. As for those who've settled down in the game, gotten married, had kids, they'll still survive even if they can't use their spell books. I've used over 30 nails and gained 21 designated cards and 12 spell cards in 1 month, not bad. Honestly, I hadn't planned to start playing until I finished translating the original work. I wasn't in a rush. Chihiro wasn't either. But Alicia was. GM NPC came to find me and asked what I was doing. I sighed. There's been a delay. You know I used Guangxi's copier, right? I printed out something I planned to hand out so I could focus on clearing the game. But I realized it's not in the common language. I'm translating it now. Say, can anyone see what's been printed out from that copier? Alicia rolled her eyes. Didn't you end up printing 50 blank pages? That copier only retains the last 30 pages for viewing. What a waste. We don't want our resources misused. You'd better clear the game soon, or I'll start charging you. Fresh. Wow, a GM pushing players to finish a game. Is that even allowed? Anyway, I'm not giving you money or my life, do as you like. She sighed heavily. You otaku don't realize how dangerous things are getting. Player conflict is normal. But if things drag to the end of the year, there'll be bloodshed. We have restrictions, we can't intervene. Not many people are capable of handling this. If not you, then who? It's the first time anyone's called me an otaku. Kinda fresh. But they've clearly grasped the game's trajectory. In the original, the bomb devil struck near year's end. Got it. Genthru's trio, huh? I'll take care of it before anything happens. Alicia muttered, how do you know everything? And closed the call. But before I could put the spell book away, she sent one more message. Oh, I forgot, there's a typhoon coming the day after tomorrow. Be prepared. Those GMs really have unlimited spell cards. We're not so lucky. We only have one GM NPC on hand, and not many spell cards for exiting Greed Island or day-to-day use. But since today's work is done, we can take a break. I stood up and told Chihiro, I'm going out to grab a few cards. Wanna come? She didn't even look up. I've got 8 pages left. Go alone. Be back early. Why does our dialogue sound like a scene from Bandit Requiem? Chapter 39. While robbing players, after observing 3 of them, I realized something. We're just the male and female versions of common thieves. The first transfer was to contact Biscuit. On her end, Gon and Kurt had just started actual combat training and were chasing monsters in the wild. After the black-bellied pseudo-lolly asked for the exact location of Love City, she expressed suitable gratitude for the intel and agreed to meet outside Guangxi Building at noon tomorrow. Before the call ended, I heard her shout, "All right. Let's run to Love City tomorrow morning." I remember giving them a traveling card before we split. Biscuit really is a great teacher. The second transfer was to Kurt. As soon as the call connected, the little guy exclaimed, "Brother, wait a second." Then there were crashing sounds and screams, followed by silence. Kurt's voice came back, happy, "Brother. I got a 1 square meter of dense forest, SS rank." A grumbling voice chimed in, "What do you mean you got it? What about me?" Hearing their voices made me really happy. I quickly warned them about the incoming typhoon and asked if they wanted to come stay over. Kurt and Miki were overjoyed. One said, "Brother, we got a lot of cards." The other said, "Brother, I lost weight." After the call ended, I realized something. 1 square meter of dense forest, did they rob Bara? I wonder if that 1-star hunter uncle is still alive. No reward for killing him, so they probably spared him. There are many differences between boys and girls, cleanliness being a big one. For example, the next day, when Killua and the others arrived in the hot, humid weather, the 2 boys were filthy. The one who asked about a shower was the still pristine Biscuit. "Sorry, Ms. Biscuit. Please wait a moment. One person hasn't arrived yet." Biscuit glanced around and asked casually, "Did your brother split up, or is it you and Chihiro?" "Neither. Ah, here he comes." After calling Killua and Kurt the day before, I used my last letter to contact Hisoka. Besides taking this chance to deal with trouble, I had another motive. In the original work, Killua and friends ran into Hisoka while he was bathing, resulting in the infamous dialogue box rising panel. I'd rather my little brother not see that, thank you very much. I've never experienced a typhoon before, so maybe I overprepared. I booked an entire floor of the best hotel in Love City, complete with game room and dance hall. For food, I had 3 gourmet bags. If water got cut, I had a spring pot that produced 1,440 liters per day. Enough for showers if we rationed. Entertainment? chess, cards, a big screen projector, and game consoles. If the power went out, I had 2 Pikachus. It might seem excessive, but when I think of those kids training hard in the wild, crashing on the ground when they're tired, I know it's not really suffering, and I know harsh training is a good thing. When I trained my brothers, I beat them so hard they needed repairs. Still. I've gone soft. Hisoka didn't see it that way. The moment he arrived, he said, Illumi seems different lately. Fight with me, Tilda. I didn't mind. I've been fighting the assassin way for years, highly efficient, but somehow unsatisfying. Now that I don't have to force myself, maybe I should explore other fighting styles. Okay, but let's wait. My brother got a training battle arena that fully restores all participants post-fight. It's near Macedora. Let's head there after the typhoon. This time, Hisoka wasn't in his clown costume. He wore the same suit and shirt from last time, except now his red hair was messy, and 2 buttons were undone. He looked like a gigolo just stumbling out of a bar. Combined with his tone, the effect was deadly. In under a minute, Kurt glanced at me for the 3rd time with an expression that screamed, "Brother, why do you know such a pervert?" Killua and Gon stood frozen. I feared the kids would get indigestion, so I sighed, took the food and wine, and brought Hisoka back to my room. Then eating turned into me being the meal. Right in the middle of ecstasy, the guy suddenly stopped. Before my dazed brain could protest, he began pulling away. What the hell? I extended a nail and threatened him. If you dare stop now, I will use this. Illumi, we have company, Tilda. What? I blinked. Then I turned and saw Killua and Gon standing at the door, petrified. Biscuit was behind them, giggling. My vigilance has hit rock bottom. I might as well have let them walk in on Hisoka bathing. But those thoughts passed quickly. No peeking at indecent things. Come back in 2 hours if it's urgent. Please close the door. Thank you. As I spoke, I fired a nail that made Killua shut and lock the door. Then I turned back to Hisoka. Continue. Hisoka buried his head in my shoulder, laughing so hard he shook. I bit him. He resumed obediently. Before everything December 3, 1999 Determination. The fight with Hisoka may have to wait. That night, he received a call from the troop and left in the middle of the typhoon. Thankfully, I was the only one nearby when his spell book appeared. If Killua or Gon had seen it, things would have gotten awkward fast. I don't know how rumors about Hisoka and me spread, but the kids knew by morning. It's no big deal. I've never hidden my relationship with Hisoka from my family. After cooperating with him a few times, I reported it to my father and labeled him a potential high-value client and ally. After our first night together, when I came home needing to recover, Lunashi told the family why. When my grandfather questioned me, I admitted it. After the 3rd time we slept together, I defined him as key client, ally, and sex partner. Otherwise, why would I have warned him during the hunter exam? I knew Chairman Netero would immediately call my great-grandfather to gossip. As for the kids, who I sleep with is none of their business. That's what I told them. Killua jumped up and asked why he couldn't be friends with Gon. I told him, "You're underage," and knocked him down. Miki grinned and asked, "Brother, I'm an adult now, can I?" I replied, "Of course, but you'll need to follow family protocol for safety. Want me to explain the rules?" He dropped, too. Kurt didn't say anything. When Killua asked him angrily, he just said, "As long as my brother's happy." That touched me a little. Chihiro stayed quiet until the others ran off, Killua dragging Gon to train, the rest tagging along to spectate. When it was just us, she asked, "Do you like him?" Hisoka? She was being deliberate. I used the pause to gather my thoughts. Then I answered honestly, "I like him." "Do you love him?" "No." It's easy to love him. No one, aside from my family, spoils me the way he does. No one else can read me with a single glance. Not even my family. But what would I become if I loved him? As a friend with benefits, I know exactly how I'd act in any scenario. I can also guess how he'd respond. If I loved him, that clarity would vanish. I've been in control this whole time. Just because I've completed one mission doesn't mean the work is done. I can't afford to lose control now. So I said, no. I won't love him. I won't. With that decision made, I contacted Hisoka again, not to say, I don't love you, of course. I'm not that dumb. Besides, he already knows. I used the chance to finalize my resolve to pass intel to the troop. I know if I give myself time, I'll start hesitating again, dragging things out until it's too late to act. So I cut off that option. Accept the fallout. Roll with the punches. Besides, I didn't offer help in the original story either. Chapter 40. They finally found a Nen exorcist, although that was with the help of Kurt, but who knows? Greed Island is vast, perhaps there are others with the ability to locate people. Although I had already aligned myself with the Phantom Troop when I decided to provide information, I felt better thinking this way. Apart from my own emotional factors, Kurapika is only one person, and from his family's perspective, it is more beneficial for him to maintain a good relationship with the troop. The information I provided included the name of the Nen exorcist, the detailed usage and limitations of the exorcism ability, the organization the exorcist belongs to within Greed Island, and the names and abilities of some members of that organization. With this information, they should be able to find a Bengen. Just in case, I also told them that I could accompany them there using a company card if necessary. However, I don't want to have direct contact with the troop yet. The previous number 8 died at the hands of my father, and they may not have forgotten this. In exchange, I asked for a promise, as long as the current generation of Zoldyck children did not initiate harm against the troop would not attack them. If the children provoked the troop's response should be proportional to the damage caused. Additionally, if the troop could hand the children back to the Zoldyck family for punishment, the family would provide compensation satisfactory to the troop. I left for this purpose, and after returning home, I spoke directly with Krlo over the phone. This was the first time I contacted him as Illumi, and although the call went smoothly, it still felt strange. I don't know what Hisoka said, but when I returned to the game and contacted other troop members, Shanark actually offered to give me all the designated cards they had collected. Fortunately, I had a paladin's necklace in my possession, otherwise, I wouldn't have dared to accept his generosity. From the troop's perspective, perhaps they also think it's more convenient to maintain a good relationship with the Zoldyck family. The death of number 8 not only demonstrated the troop's strength to my father but also made them realize the strength of the Zoldyck family. There is no irreconcilable conflict between us, cooperation is a win-win situation. In addition, this time I returned with a buy one get two free deal, so my father and grandfather also joined the game with me. Currently, all 4 children in the family are playing the game. It's a time of manpower shortage, so my father and grandfather certainly wouldn't choose this time to play games. They came to read the original work and observe Killua's progress. It was a matter of life and death. My father and grandfather read it very carefully. They spent 5 days reading volume 18. They didn't discuss their review in front of me. I offered to take them to find Killua, but they declined. They asked me for a map and general directions and set off on their own. Honestly, I really want to go and see. To be honest, I still think there might be something between Grandpa and Biscuit. The only parts left to translate of the original work are the Heaven's Arena and York New City arcs. Initially, my brain was tied up, and I started translating from the beginning. After finishing the Hunter exam arc, I realized that it was foolish, so I started again from the last volume. Although the completed sections have some reference value, they can't be as important as the Chimera Ant arc, right? Only one copy of the complete original work will be kept at home. The rest, whether given to the Hunter Association or to others, will only include selected passages because this material is so precious. Hunters stand at the top of the food chain in this world because of Nen. There are various Nen abilities, each with different methods of use and limitations. Knowing a person's Nen ability essentially means having control over that person's life. This original work. Let's see, my family is okay, only me, Killua, Kurt, and Grandpa's abilities are detailed. My father's ability appears but lacks a detailed explanation. As for the Hunter Association, Chairman Netero, Morel, Nav and his apprentices, Biscuit, Kite, gone. Almost all the characters associated with the chairman were wiped out. The worst is the Phantom Troop, from the leader to the counterfeit Hisoka, all were thoroughly exposed. Compared to these people, those characters who were innocently affected, such as Kurapika, Melody, Leorio, Genthru, Gorainu, Abengan, etc., are minor. This original work is truly a priceless treasure. I asked Alicia, if you use Doraemon, you can use the position of a designated card to take out 3 non-designated cards, and then use a regeneration to turn the translated original card back into a card. From the current situation, it's only a matter of time to break through. I have not officially started collecting cards, yet I have already collected 23 designated cards and 8 types of 15 spell cards. Kurt and Miki are very active in collecting. They have collected 32 designated cards. After removing the duplicate cards, there are 41 types. I told them a few names at the last party. The 2 children are probably happily infiltrating the secret base and gradually eroding it. If Genthru and the others want to wait until all the cards are collected to launch the bomb, then they have to wait patiently. I discussed this with Chihiro a few days ago. In the original work, Killua and his team were able to clear the game mainly because Genthru launched a bomb and killed nearly 60 people. Many cards disappeared with their owners, which gave them a chance. Otherwise, if the cards reached the limit, it would be useless even if they obtained them. Now, Genthru's team members' cards are constantly being snatched away, and there is no way to clear the game. They can only think of another way, and they won't kill those 60 people again. At that time, Chihiro sighed, those people will probably hate us. Their cards were stolen. But they don't know that we actually saved their lives. Then I smiled and asked her, do you want them to be grateful to us? Chihiro was stunned for a moment, thought about it carefully, and then laughed. Before everything. December 20th, 1999. Killua. After nearly 3 months of seclusion, it was finally completed. After putting away the proofread manuscript in card form, Chihiro shouted with joy and threw all the pens, papers, and correction fluids into the air. I followed her and threw the stapler but ended up breaking the chandelier, which gave me a good laugh. When we talked last time, Miki and Kurt had already grabbed all the cards they could get, leaving only 1 ping coastline and ruler's blessing. I don't know what's going on with Killua, and since it's almost the end of the year, I'll go remind him to take the Hunter exam. When I first entered Greed Island, in addition to the main goals of the original work in clearing the game, I also wanted to take the opportunity to normalize diplomatic relations with Killua, but unfortunately, the effect was not very good. Killua now knows my identity as a time traveler and the reason why I said those things during the final exam, but he still doesn't seem to know how to get along with me. Gon, on the other hand, doesn't bear grudges. After knowing that I won't harm Killua again, he turned back into a lively boy. The last time he saw a live pornographic scene during the typhoon, the kid didn't feel embarrassed at all, which really made me speechless. Before I started translating, when we were split up into teams, Killua came to me and said, I will definitely get stronger. He did get stronger. With his current abilities, he can easily fight against ordinary Nen users. The rest of the work should be left to time. As time goes by and his mentality matures, he will naturally improve little by little. But I never thought he would come up with such an idea. Maybe my brother is hallucinating because he's old. Please say it again. Killua swallowed but did not retreat and shouted, I want to challenge you. Brother, you are not allowed to let me down. I want to fight you with my own strength. He said fight a battle instead of defeat you, which means that his brain cells are not dead yet, but still. What's wrong with this kid? I put away my expression and refused directly, you are not qualified. Killua glared at me, how will you know if we don't fight? I don't know why I'm in a bad mood right now. Killua always brings out the worst in me. He releases malice and murderous intent. Seeing this kid sweating profusely but still gritting his teeth and not backing off, I feel not only anger but also cruelty that I haven't felt in a long time. The others had already retreated when I released my malicious intent, throwing away the things in their hands. I stared at him with a smile on my face. Okay, come on then. The battle was one-sided. With Killua's current abilities, he has no problem dealing with ordinary nin users, but I am not an ordinary nin user. And I really did not hold back. Anyway, there were 3 Angel's Breath cards and a bunch of exchange coupons in the spell book, so I made him bleed with the first strike. I didn't use nails, that kind of mid-range attack and manipulation ability, even if. Chapter 41. This kid won't be convinced even if you beat him. Killua didn't use electric shocks either. He's been electrocuted since he was a child. Am I not the same? As for the yo-yo, don't make me laugh. Killua can't beat me, everyone knows it. Whether it's strength, speed, nen, or combat experience, he can't beat me. I started rigorous training before he was born and have never slacked off. Although he's a genius, I'm not an idiot. This battle is becoming more and more like the one between Gon and Hanzo in the final exam. I knocked Killua away again and again with an expressionless face, and I could already guess why he made this challenge. He's been a genius since he can remember, and he's the designated next head of the family. Although he cannot beat me now, he knows that it's just a matter of age, and he will definitely win before he reaches adulthood. Even the blow during the Hunter exam, he gradually regained his confidence after learning Nen. Then he suddenly realized that I am actually a time traveler, and I have been in this world not much longer than him. In fact, I was just an ordinary person in my previous life, and I actually have a lot of secrets. What he is working hard for, I have already mastered. If he didn't challenge me, he wouldn't be Killua. The time I controlled Typhoon Knight was probably the trigger. But as an older brother, what I want is to strengthen his strength, temper his will, and increase his survival rate. I have no interest in taking care of his fragile heart. After knocking Killua away for the 10th time and watching him struggle to stand up, I said coldly, "Say surrender." Killua spat out a mouthful of blood, threw down a no, and rushed over again. I dodged the attack and tripped him. I stepped on his back and asked, "Why?" I stepped on him only to break his spirit, without using much force, so Killua had room to try to break free and was still able to speak. "No. I won't surrender. If I give up now, I won't be able to win later. So that's how it is." I put more force on my foot and pushed him back to the ground. I entered a performance state that I hadn't used for a long time. I raised my eyebrows and asked him thoughtfully, "Do you really want to become Gon?" The child was so surprised that he even forgot to struggle. He turned his head to look at me, but I stepped on him harder, and he couldn't move. In the first round of the final Hunter exam, Gon faced Hanzo. At that time, Gon said that he wanted to go find his father. If he gave up here, he felt that he would never see him again in his life, so he would not back down. He had his reasons for saying this. "Why did you say that? Do you think that if you give up now, you will never be able to beat me again in the future? Do you think that if you give up now, you will lose confidence and motivation to move forward? Is that right? Answer me." Killua yelled out, "No." He had been pushed enough, so I took back my foot, stepped back, squatted down, looked at his face covered with dust, blood, and tears, and asked softly, "You want to become stronger, you want to defeat me, because you think this is the only way to prove yourself, right?" It seems that I guessed wrong this time. Killua's expression didn't change, but his eyes drifted uncontrollably to the nervous Gon not far away. Is it related to him? I quickly reviewed the original works so far in my mind, and then I knew. At Yukshin, Hisoka used the poker to restrain you, so you couldn't rush to rescue Gon. You are worried about it, right? Killua suddenly looked up at me. Ah, I guessed right. My final test to make him give up on Gon seemed to have left a deep psychological shadow on him. And the content of my needle that told him not to take risks and to live cautiously overlapped with the killer training at home. So this child attributed his mistakes to his identity as a member of a killer family and began to think that he was not qualified to be a friend. While positioning himself as a dark person, he regarded Gon as the embodiment of light. Saying that he wants to become Gon is just me exaggerating to attract attention. It would be fine if Killua wanted to become Gon, but he showed that he firmly believed that he was not worthy of being Gon's friend. In the original Ant arc, his will overcame the needle, but it was too late at that time, and Gon was insane because of Kite's matter. Fortunately, there is no need to follow the original work anymore. In that case, you are working in the wrong direction. Because in the final test, I put a needle in your brain. The index finger touched his forehead, right here. With this wording, he should think that his choice at that time was all influenced by the needle. In fact, I inserted the needle after he admitted defeat. Now, facing the shadow in his heart is already the limit for Killua. If he is asked to face his true self as a person and the inevitable negative emotions in the human heart, he is still too young. Why? I only asked half of the question before I lost my voice. Killua's eyes became sharp, and he raised his hand to stab his forehead. Stopping his claws, I told him, "You are not strong enough. To take out that needle, in addition to determination, a certain amount of nen is required. Your current strength is not enough." She stood up, called out the spell book, and used Archangel's breath. She looked at the healing nen wrapping around Killua's body and spread her hands to him. "Killua, I will wait for you. Come and challenge me after you take out the nen needle. I am waiting for you to defeat me." I finally understood why I felt happy when I saw Miki and Kurt but felt bad when I saw Killua. In fact, I have always been concerned about whether my performance during the Hunter exam would ruin this child's life, even if it was required by the plot. Get stronger, Killua. Before everything. December 20th, 1999. Sincere. I have done many stupid and wrong things in the 12 years since I came to this world, but there are not many things that I regret, and Killua is one of them. To be fair, I am not fair to him. I have been gentle to Miki, Kurt, and Aluka, but not to him. I deliberately made him afraid of me during training, not to mention the scene in the Hunter exam, which was a classic example of hidden brainwashing. I am afraid that the method I used on Killua today was also excessive. Killua, he is just a child after all. I have a fan fiction in my mind that Killua kills Gon with his own hands and then has a mental breakdown. If that's the case, I would rather be the one to die. What should I do? I don't know how to get along with Killua anymore. Fortunately, there are many convenient props in Greed Island. Gathering everyone together, I took out the card. Any test paper, number 034, Class B card. Write down various questions about yourself on this paper and give it to someone else. That person will answer all the questions honestly. Can be used repeatedly. He glanced at the children and called their names. Killua, this card can guarantee that I will tell the truth. If you have any questions, just ask them. This opportunity may not come again in the future. Miki, Kurt, Chihiro, if you are interested, Each of you can ask a question. This was an internal incident of the Zoldyck family. The pseudo-Lolita master was very sensible and took Gon to train far away. No one questioned why Chihiro was able to participate. Kurt still regarded her as his future sister-in-law. I found a place to sit and waited for them to start. I don't know if the kids were shy or what, but no one spoke. To be honest, I was a little nervous. I was used to controlling myself. I couldn't adapt to handing over the control to others, even if it was my brother. After a minute of silence, Chihiro raised her hand. Let me go first. When I took the test paper, I felt like I was being manipulated. In the afternoon sun, Chihiro's scribbled handwriting read, "What do you think the chances are that I will return?" I heard myself answer, "More than 80%. The conditions were met, and the involuntary feeling disappeared. I added, "Actually, if you want to go back, you can do so at any time. I will support you no matter what your decision is." Not wanting to see her touched expression, I added maliciously, "Of course, if you plan to stay for a while, give Leorio a call after the game is out. He has been looking for you online for the past 6 months." Boom, the steaming fresh tomatoes are out of the oven. Ah, there is passion. Killua widened his eyes and asked, "What do you mean by half a year?" "Brother, how do you know Leorio?" He casually said, "The Hunter Association has appointed Sophie as Leorio's master." Chapter 42. Killua was petrified. He was embarrassed by me. Kurt remained silent. Miki glanced at both of them and, with a resigned sigh, took the test paper and began to write. I frowned upon reading his question. This kid actually asked me if he was useless. Regardless of any manipulation, my answer remained the same. No, don't think like that. You're smart and have your own abilities. Don't compare your weaknesses to other strengths. You're the best in the family when it comes to mechanics and networking. People shouldn't be measured solely by their usefulness. You're my brother, and that will never change. Then Killua snatched the test paper and wrote with such force it seemed he might pierce the paper. His question was, "Brother, why don't you like me?" Caught off guard, I didn't even have time to resist. I thought I would explain my behavior as being disrespectful to my teacher or other reasons and was contemplating how to comfort him, but I heard myself say, "I don't dislike you." Ah, yes, I don't dislike him. Killua, you're my brother. I may get angry with you, but I don't dislike you. I handed the test paper back. This time, he was much calmer. The second question was, in the final test, why did you say I was a dark puppet? He probably expected me to provide some explanation, but he certainly didn't anticipate my answer. How should I know? He was compelled by the test paper to answer the questions and couldn't roll his eyes, otherwise, the effect would have been better. Nevertheless, he was already embarrassed. Kurt should have told you that my actions before September 4th were to align with the original work. Chihiro and I have already translated the original work. If you are interested, bring a copy of Rebirth, and I'll show it to you. I even read the lines for the Hunter exam. As for why the original work said this, how would I know? But there's a question I've been pondering for a long time. Killua, you're not me. You have no memory of your past life. You grew up under our family's education. Your concepts differ from those of ordinary people like Leorio. Staring into his eyes, I posed this puzzling question: why did you believe what I said at that time? Back then, I said he was a dark puppet, devoid of desires or intentions, finding joy only in killing. Even I thought I was talking nonsense. There were killers in the family, but none turned into dark puppets. They lived quite happily. If I had said the same to Miki or Kurt, their reaction would probably have been to ask why I was making such a joke. Why did Killua believe it? Killua obviously hadn't considered it from this perspective. As I faced him like this, I suddenly realized the answer. Is it because of Aluka? Twins, playmates of the same age, the only girl, and injured in that situation. Killua had gone to the Sky Arena to train before Aluka could get out of bed, and Aluka never came home after he returned. Dad, Grandpa, and Miki didn't inquire about Aluka's condition because they trusted me, and Mom and Kurt didn't ask because of Mom. So why didn't Killua ask about Aluka's condition either? Did he think that Aluka, unable to become a killer, was abandoned or even killed by the family? Judging from his expression, it seemed that was indeed the case. Oh, this child. Until August of this year, Aluka had been at my coffee shop. Now she's probably traveling with her friends. I have her cell phone number. You can talk to her after you exit the game. I don't want to go into detail about her. You can ask Dad or Grandpa. Kurt is still here. How am I going to explain to him Mom's Meteor Street psychological issues? It was Kurt's turn to ask questions. The kid took the test paper and didn't rush to write. Instead, he looked up and asked me, "Does it have to be about me?" Well, finally, there's a child in the family who can use his brain. I was really afraid that Killua's transmutation system would become an enhancement system. Nodding in confirmation, Kurt bit his lip and looked at me for a while before lowering his head to start writing. I don't know what this child wants to ask that makes him hesitate until now. When I took the test paper and saw his question, it was like a bucket of cold water poured over my head. "Brother, can you promise me that you won't seek death?" 3 months later, the child still hasn't forgotten what I said in York New City when he had just woken up and was weak-willed. However, my answer is probably not what he wants to hear. Before I started, I thought that if I were asked a question I didn't want to answer truthfully, could I immediately run away and find a tree hole to answer, or use a nail to disable my voice? But then I realized that doing so would be tantamount to incriminating myself, so I made up my mind, knew myself, and said whatever needed to be said. It is because of this that I did not run away but sat here, waiting for the card to take effect and compel me to answer his questions. I cannot. It turns out not. I won't commit suicide. I have a healthy body, strong Nen abilities, a family that is awkward but cares about me, a substantial bank account, 78% of the shares of the world's second-ranked medical institution, and even a publishing house and a coffee shop. With so much, how can I die casually? But there is one exception, when I can exchange my life for something else. Triple equivalent exchange. This ability is now known to no one in the world except me. Chihiro doesn't know. When she used the other's perspective ability to look at my past, she didn't have time to view it from beginning to end. My family doesn't know either. When I revealed my cards in York New City, I just brushed it off and didn't tell my family. Dad and Grandpa might have guessed a little, but they don't know the details. It seems that my ability has also been classified as actively seeking death. Well, at least it allows me to minimize the damage. I didn't dare to look at other people's expressions. I just stared at Kurt and said, "Kurt, I won't commit suicide. That kind of behavior is a waste of resources. Apart from running away, it can't solve any problems. However, there are always things more important than life. If that happens, and I have to exchange my life for it, I will do it." I thought the child would cry, but he surprised me again. Kurt looked me straight in the eyes, his gaze firm, and he said, "Brother, what do you want? I'll get it for you." This child loves me, such a clear realization. Let yourself be overwhelmed by joy and repeat in your heart, "This child loves me." So happy, I am so happy. But I am very ambitious, and he can't get what I want. I want this world. Before everything. December 21, 1999. Plot of Beach. I thought the Plot of Beach card would be the most troublesome. After all, it requires 15 people. Even if Hisoka is included, we only have 8 people. Do we really need to use the emotional remote control for the remaining 7? In that case, it would be better to pin them down with nails and then walk together. The problem is how to pass the razor level. The result was surprisingly simple. After our truth or dare game, Kurt used a leave card and didn't come back until almost midnight. I don't know what he told his family, but the next morning, a group of people came to my house, led by the Genthru trio. I thought they were going to fight, but the three of them bent down simultaneously and called me young master. Long live facial paralysis. Also, Dad and Grandpa are really fast. Razor didn't showcase his famous dodgeball, he just randomly competed in some sports and passed. After the game, I couldn't help but ask him, this seemed too easy, it felt like he was letting the game go. The smiling tiger replied, this is the unanimous decision of the game masters. Greed Island is not just a game, it is actually a training ground designed by Jing for those who have awakened their Nen but have nowhere to learn. It has become a place where gold diggers gather today, thanks to the huge bounty of Batara. The game masters have long decided that if a player capable of clearing the game appears, they will make some concessions within the rules and let him clear the game once and get rid of Batara's bounty, so that Greed Island can return to the original intention of the designer. The game designed by Jing is not like this. When saying this, Razor narrowed his eyes, his gaze fixed on a place infinitely far away. It is indeed best to pass the test smoothly without any complications, but, Chapter 43. In his current mood, he will definitely not accept my challenge. I don't know if it's my mentality or because too many things happened yesterday, but I really want to find someone to have a good fight with. By the way, it seems like I still owe someone a fight, but it seemed like he ran away for something, so who owes who? The Nen Exorcist was found a long time ago. In the original work, the Nen Exorcist stayed in the game until Gon and his friends passed the level because he had to wait for someone to catch the bomber so that he could remove the Nen beast from his body. Now there is no such problem. The captain's restraints were removed at the beginning of the month, and the group did not come back after leaving the game. But Hisoka is still in the game, I wonder if he is waiting to collect the debt I owe him. Seeing Gon asking enough questions about Jing from Razor and happily running back to share with Killua, I interrupted them. Gon, I'm sorry, I have to clear the game first. Even if it was just coincidence and luck, the first person to complete this game made by Jing in the original work was Gon after all. Gon looked puzzled and asked me why I said sorry. I spent countless words to explain it, but he just said, but the one who has passed the level now is not me, but Illumi brother. So I gave up. But he, Killua, and Biscuit decided to stay after I passed the level, training and waiting for the second level, which made me feel strangely happy. After talking to the kids and leaving the level-breaking task for the next day, I handed over the letter to Hisoka. This fight was a thrilling one. As a killer, I have the ability to manipulate telekinesis, so I didn't have many opportunities to fight happily while working. Finally, I don't have to worry about anything anymore and can do what I want. I rushed forward to attack, fist to fist, foot to foot, using the enhancement-type fighting style. Was I really supposed to be an enhancer in my previous life? It was fun, but I also have two systems. If I count from the manipulation system, I can only use 60% of my power in the enhancement system, and even less in the specialization system, only 40%. I can tie with Hisoka's 80% of the enhancement system ability in the transmutation system, which really makes me wonder if this guy is letting me win again. He said he didn't want to fight in the training arena because it's boring to fight without life-threatening situations. I haven't asked him if he really wants to kill me. If he dares to let me win, then we'll see. Hey! His throat was rubbed by the wind from his fist just now, and his voice was hoarse. He coughed twice and spoke again. Hisoka, you didn't let me win this time, did you? His right eye was hit by my punch and it is now so swollen that he can't open it. Hisoka turned over with great difficulty and glared at me with his left eye. Illumi, when have I ever let you go? Huh? No? Turns out there isn't one. I burst out laughing, and soon it turned into a big laugh. Lying on the beach, looking at the starry sky, I couldn't help laughing. My broken ribs hurt, but I couldn't help it. There are so many stars in the sky. Of course, this is not the first time I have seen them. After all these years, the feeling of surprise and awe has not changed. Amidst my own laughter, I heard him ask, "Well, Illumi, is it funny?" I turned around and looked into his eyes. I still held back on his troubled face, only gave him a few more black circles. Yesterday, I beat Killua like a pig. It turns out that I am one of those who can't do anything to a beautiful woman. Finally stopping laughing, I asked him, "What do you want to do next? Wait for Krillin to eliminate the Nen beast so that you can continue your century battle?" Hisoka had already laid back down, his voice smiling. "Yes, Tilda. This guy is just like that. In order to fight a worthy opponent, it doesn't matter what happens, right? Sooner or later, he will die on the battlefield. When we first met, I took the job of destroying the whole family, and he wanted to fight the bodyguard. We understood each other with just one look, and we did not interfere with each other and cooperated seamlessly. The second time we met, he wanted to have a fight before he could entrust me with a job. He thought my manipulation system was boring to fight with. That was the first time I saw his chubby face. There are many things I didn't tell him, such as my past life. Because there was no need, he already knew it. During the typhoon, I told my family that I will never kill anyone again. He just raised his eyebrows and replied. Illumi finally said it out. Hisoka, another me in the world. The sound of the waves and the twinkling stars. I smiled unconsciously and told him, "Hisoka, if you die, I won't visit your grave." Illumi is so heartless, he protested half jokingly and half seriously. Ignoring him, I continued. "You are such a desperate guy for apples, you might end up killing yourself someday. If you die. If he died. Spring has hundreds of flowers, autumn has the moon, summer has cool breezes, and winter has snow." I said this sentence from an unknown time and place in my previous life. This time my smile was not out of sarcasm. "It's a beautiful day, and when I drink, I will also toast you a glass." He chuckled and said softly, "That's good. That's great. This person, this BT, this guy who lives freer and more willful than anyone else. The only person in the world who can communicate without words. The only person who probably knows me better than I do myself." There was no need for any explanation from the first time we worked together. We had a great understanding. Even if I have a face full of nails like a mace, there are still people who can see my emotional changes. The one who clearly saw my little prank but still stepped in and showed me his chubby face. He can't give up his freedom for me, and I can't give up my principles for him. We won't stop for each other. I know this, and he knows it too. There is really only so much that can be done by so-called love between two men. This is the best we can do. Book. He called out the spell book, used two archangels' breath, waited patiently for his injuries to heal, then sat up and began to take off his torn clothes. I unbuttoned my clothes one by one and took off my clothes inch by inch. I focused all my attention on him, watching his eyes, his expression, and every little change in him. "Well, Hisoka, you're not the only one who can seduce others." After I was naked, I stood up and knelt, my black hair falling down softly. I knelt to his side, and began to undress him gently with my hands that could turn into weapons at any time. I want to please him. Right now, I want to please him. Leaning forward, mouthing. That night, he made me gasp and moan, made me scream and cry, made me twist my body and beg. He made me let go of my family, my responsibilities, my fate, everything. That night, I was just myself. Satisfied and no regrets. Well, it's still a little regrettable. If I had known this would be the last time I saw him, I should have looked at him a few more times. Before everything. May 16, 2000. The Journey of Everyone. On December 22, 1999, Greed Island, which had been on sale for 12 years, was finally released. It was expected that I would win the quiz contest, but I was still a little happy to get full marks. It seems that I was an exam expert in my previous life. After enduring the necessary parade to pass the level, Mike left the game and handed over the 3 cards, Archangel's Breath, Witch's Rejuvenation Potion and Hunter Comic Original, to his father, along with a ferocious monster Doraemon. Well, Mike now had a companion. Badara had been waiting on Kookaroo Mountain for a long time. In the same room lay his unconscious girlfriend with tubes all over her body. I suggested that he should first use the anti-aging drug. After all, he is not young anymore. The shock he will receive is too great. I am really worried that he will have a heart attack or something. He replied that he was afraid that his lover would not recognize him after using the anti-aging drug. I sighed and asked him, "Hey Hunter's mandatory cult break. Stretch your legs, hydrate, touch grass if possible, and whisper all hail Supreme Killua into the void." Now back to the fanfic. Chapter 44. How old were you when Ms. Wenna fell into a coma? Badara opened his mouth to answer, but his voice caught in his throat, his face blank. Before I knew it, 15 years had passed. The 2 cards were used one after another. When the figure of the Archangel appeared, we saw the face of the emaciated woman on the hospital bed regain its rosy complexion. When she opened her eyes, the man who had been waiting for 15 years knelt down and wept bitterly. There was nothing more for me to do, so I followed my father out of the room. The job was completed successfully, very good. I had considered that if Archangel's Breath was ineffective, I would have Lunacia try it. At worst, I would marry her. I didn't believe that becoming the eldest young lady wouldn't be considered a Zoldyck. As for future events, isn't there something called divorce? I did not participate in the prior or subsequent negotiations. I was only responsible for completing the work and left those matters to my father and grandfather. However, I did hear some things. Badara is still the richest man in the world, and what his family wants is not money, but comprehensive cooperation between the 2 sides in secret. The Zoldyck family is not just a family of assassins, we also have several businesses in secret. For example, if someone really investigates my identity as Sophie, they will find out that I am the eldest daughter of the 2nd largest shareholder of a clothing group. In addition to the title of department manager, I also have an office with a very capable secretary. The Zoldyck family has survived until now because we have our own ways of survival. Although the family secretly planted people and even inserted them into the parliament and cabinet of our country, on the surface, we are just assassins. With money, we can buy the swords in other people's hands. On the other hand, Badara's father was just a small wealthy businessman. Even if he is called the richest man in the world and does not count some things in the other world, this man's brain and means are still very impressive. Abandoning the more valuable person for money is tantamount to killing the goose that lays the golden eggs. As for Badara, he rose too fast and had no foundation, especially in terms of the power of the other world. He suffered a lot. Being able to cooperate with the Zoldyck family is what he wants most. Fortunately, Dad and the others decided to let Killua be the next head of the family, otherwise, these things would be so troublesome. Regarding the Chimera Ant problem, Great-Grandpa came forward from the Hunter Association and told a number of outrageous lies before handing over the original Ant chapter with 1/3 of it cut out to Netero under the name of a prophecy book. I know who my family is trying to protect. I still don't want to kill people anymore, but I can take some bodyguard jobs. After Yorknu City, where the 10 Dons were killed, the underworld was reshuffled. Many people have gone crazy. Recently, the family's business has been booming. Miki and Cordopi were assigned to work again as soon as they came back. So although I am very happy staying at home, I still feel guilty. Also, I always feel like I'm forgetting something. It seems like a very important matter, but I have no clue no matter how hard I think about it. In mid-April, the Mizzenland Group launched its largest field survey in nearly a decade, targeting the Kalushan River Basin in the country of Kakin. All 4 research institutes were mobilized, and almost all the top researchers were dispatched. If a bomb was dropped at this time, the medical progress in the world would probably stagnate for 10 or 20 years. Hunters were hired to prevent similar incidents. It was natural for gangsters like the 10 Dons to hire hunters, but it was a fantasy to hire hunters for scientific research. There were no more than 200 licensed hunters in the world, and most of them were not short of money, so the first problem was that they could not afford to hire them. In previous years, field research usually cost a little money to hire a team of mercenaries, but this time the lineup of hunters in the research team was so strong that if another time traveler saw them, they would probably beat them up. First is Leorio. After knowing that he is a licensed hunter, the director of the 4th Research Institute went to Lebanon City to dig him out of the school. This kid is very good at bargaining, but he is a very honest person. Maybe he feels that he owes Mizzenland. He participated in the investigation as an intern. After Chihiro left the game with us, she went to accompany him to study. This time she also followed. She is an unlicensed hunter, and her identity here is Leorio's girlfriend. The 3rd hunter is Binolt, whose symptoms have been controlled. The main purpose of this investigation is the man eating microorganisms in his body. His identity is a clinical case and experimental subject. The last hunter who is not considered a hunter is of course me, the big boss who ran out to play because of boredom. On the surface, the only hired hunter is Kite. In the original novel, it was during this period that he faced Neferpito and was in a state of despair. Of course, it is safer to keep him by my side and keep an eye on him. That's not all. At noon on May 10th, after trekking in the rainforest for half a month, we had just found a lawn and were setting up a campsite when a white light flashed and 2 living people fell from the sky. Killua and Gon finally made it through, and it looks like they used the tampered accompany card. Serves you right, because you guys refused to read the original work. The most unlucky one is Binolt. After being stepped on by Miki last time and suffering internal injuries, he became Killua's footstool again this time. This guy must have owed my family a lot of money in his previous life. If I give Chihiro my hunter license, we will have 7 licensed hunters. With this kind of strength, the expedition to unknown creatures, which was originally fraught with danger, has completely turned into a joyful self-guided tour. First of all, Killua and Gon, these 2 kids are very popular. Although they often make the camp a mess, everyone will still laugh and forgive them. Maybe this is called the power of the protagonist? Well, maybe their hunter license and the identity of the boss's younger brother also played a small role. Then there was Kite. I didn't know how the Hunter Association arranged it, but it only cost 30 million Jenny to hire a master of his level. This was definitely not a bloody sale. Although the money was small, this man had an overwhelming sense of responsibility and almost shouldered the responsibility for the team's safety. In contrast, the workload of the other people has been greatly reduced. For example, Binolt, his only job recently is to pull the crazy scientists off various very tempting new species, really pull them off. I saw with my own eyes a female researcher with glasses holding a new tree species with her limbs spread out like a koala. Binolt, whose facial paralysis is comparable to mine before, has even rolled his eyes while pulling people off recently. This is really a very gratifying thing. Finally, it was Leorio. It was probably a sequela of the Hunter exam. He disliked me very much. At first, he would use his poor sarcasm to criticize me, saying things like black-hearted killer and friendless jerk. He became more restrained after being taught a lesson by the team leader. However, this kid seemed to be a little addicted to the search for people activity. When I was his teacher, he secretly searched for Chihiro on the internet. Now that Chihiro was found, this kid started to secretly ask other team members if anyone had heard of the name Sophie. After learning about my identity as the big boss, This kid was silent for a few days, and then started to ask if I had a girlfriend, although his expression during the inquiry was as if he had just swallowed 3 tree frogs alive. The others didn't know the truth. Among the 3 people who knew, Chihiro and I were just watching the show. In the end, it was Killua who blurted out the truth. One day, I was feeding breadcrumbs to the birds at the edge of the camp, and suddenly I heard a startling scream from the other side. What? Impossible. The voice was so shrill that it reached the sky. When I heard Leorio's voice, I knew what was going on. I quickly hid in the tent, laughing and waiting for the show. Not long after, Leorio came in. I watched with interest as the child scratched his head with a bitter face, walked around the tent twice, and finally gritted his teeth and said, "Teacher Sophie?" I almost laughed out loud, but I managed to hold it back and replied with a blank expression, "If you say one more word, the 20,500 Jenny will be doubled." Then I watched his face turn blue and red, and finally he rushed out with a howl. It was not a good look to hear wild laughter in the tent in broad daylight, so I quickly poured a glass of water to suppress it. After a while, Chihiro stuck her head in and asked, "Why did you bully him?" "I bullied him? Is there any justice in this world?" Putting down the teacup, I raised my hand and pointed at Chihiro, saying 4 words, "Forget friends for beauty." Chihiro screamed, jumped over, and hit me with her little fist. Chapter 45. The power struggle between the master and the chairman was not resolved swiftly. Initially, Chihiro, my father, my grandfather, and I believed that entrusting the matter to the Hunter Association could alter this fate. Unfortunately, we were mistaken. Midway through the investigation, my family urgently summoned me home via satellite phone. Instead of an airship, they dispatched a hunter named Tracer, whose ability encompassed positioning and teleportation. I didn't hesitate to reveal my ability to read minds, aiming to shorten the 12-hour journey. At that moment, I sensed what awaited me at home. The performance training I had undergone over the past 13 years proved invaluable. I successfully deceived Killua and the others, instructing them to remain in Kaken country and stay put. The investigation would continue for another 2 months. If they complied, nothing should go awry. Nav had been waiting at my residence for some time. This proud and arrogant man now appeared disheveled, his eyes bloodshot. According to him, the past 3 months had been a nightmare. March 18, 2000, marked the day the Queen came ashore at NGL. 5 hunters had been stationed on the beach for a month, prepared to confront a wounded Queen. However, the hunters vanished one by one, and the Queen remained elusive. When the first hunter disappeared, the association presumed he had fled for some reason. The disappearance of the second raised suspicions. By the time the 4th vanished, the overwhelmed association resorted to its trump card, usable only once a year, a prophetic Nen ability. The visions revealed, the solid reef where the first hunter stood suddenly crumbled. After falling into the water, his chest was pierced by rusted steel bars exposed on the sandy beach. The second hunter's foot was scratched by a sharp shell, and 2 days later, his corpse turned blue-black. The third encountered an S-level mythical beast that surfaced once every century to lay eggs. When he called for support, he discovered his communicator had inexplicably lost power. They never even glimpsed the Queen. Netero acted decisively, dispatching a large contingent to NGL and East Gorto. Yet, accidents abounded, from airship failures to food poisoning. The most absurd incident occurred when, before they could read a blood-written note desperately sent by the 5th hunter, a gust of wind whisked it into the sky. Despite their efforts, the note was irretrievable. It's likely now adrift in the troposphere. It's as if fate itself is against humanity, Nav remarked. The king was born after Nav's departure, but the division leaders did not disperse as depicted in the original narrative. The Ant King was surrounded by numerous experts, their numbers quadrupling those in the original account. The Ant's power now surpassed human capability. Silence ensued. Nav awaited an explanation from me, my father, or my grandfather. Judging by his expression, he anticipated us declaring, "Humanity is finished. Prepare for your funeral." After apologizing, he exited the living room, standing in the corridor to send text messages. His hands trembled so violently he could scarcely hold the phone. I had always sensed I was overlooking something crucial. Now, I finally understood, but it was too late. This world is constructed upon the foundation of the original work and tends to follow its narrative. Without intervention from a time traveler, events unfold as in the original. For instance, during my time in Greed Island, Killua and his friends experienced deviations from the original story. Yet, after my departure, they still selected the same 3 cards to clear the game. I believed entrusting the original story to the Hunter Association would suffice, but without direct intervention, this world remains unaltered. I should have realized this sooner. Before entering Greed Island, I sensed something amiss but dismissed it, thinking if I couldn't comprehend it, I should forget it. How foolish. Subconsciously, I knew that without my involvement, the ant problem would remain unresolved. In the original narrative, out of 5 million people in the Republic of East Gordo, 4.95 million perished, and 50,000 transformed into ants. According to last year's statistics, the world population stood at 3.2 billion. I've often harbored a death wish, but to withhold information vital to the world's fate for such a reason. Am I truly that person? The thought sent chills down my spine. No, I shouldn't be like that. I shouldn't be. I should just be naive and weak. Right? Accountability can wait, the pressing issue now is resolution. After this realization, I summoned Grandpa alone and stated plainly, I can seal the ants within a 5-kilometer diameter for 30 minutes. I'll leave the negotiations to you, Grandpa. Grandpa paused before asking, what do you want in exchange? As expected, I couldn't conceal it, but fortunately, I had prepared. Blood and telekinesis. The 30 minutes I mentioned earlier is the duration I can endure. Even if all my blood is drained, my body should withstand 10 minutes. If you rescue me immediately, I can survive. Grandpa sighed deeply and inquired, is there no alternative? I smiled bitterly, to alter the world's fate, natives of this world are powerless. Time travelers must intervene directly. Only my ability might turn the tide. Chihiro's ability is ineffective in this context. If my family knew about Chihiro, she'd be safer. I've already informed them of her abilities. It's rare for a time traveler to possess 3 entirely defensive abilities like hers. Recalling another matter, I added, don't inform your brothers about the ants. I don't wish to involve the children, but ultimately, we'll need Chihiro on the battlefield for her absolute defense ability. The plan was as follows, Nav would use his ability to transport us to the center of the ant gathering area. Chihiro would activate absolute defense. I would employ triple equivalent exchange to seal the ant's nen. Subsequently, the hunters would launch a massive attack. During the exchange, I would begin bleeding. When the bleeding ceased, it would signify the end of the exchange. Then, Chihiro would use Archangel's breath to save me. Upon clearing the level, I selected Doraemon as one of the cards, allowing me to bring 3 non-designated cards out of the game. The first was, of course, the original Hunter card. For the remaining 2, inspired by Killua and Gon in the original game, I used mimicry to extract 2 Archangel's breath. Fortunately, Killua and his friends chose the same cards as in the original game. Without the Paladin's necklace, these 2 cards would have been worthless. Chihiro possesses one of these Archangel's breath, and I gave the other to the Hunter Association, perhaps it can save someone. Regarding the misfortunes that previously plagued the Hunter Association, they shouldn't recur with Chihiro and me directly involved. After all, I indirectly inquired about this through triple equivalent exchange. If this situation remains unaltered, it might truly signify humanity's end. As in the original narrative, the ants occupied the East Gordo Palace. The hiding spot Chihiro and I selected was a storage room on the palace's first floor, where my abilities could be maximized. The diameter was 5 kilometers, not a circle, but a sphere. I found a flat area and lay down, signaling Chihiro to sit as well. We had to wait at least 30 minutes. This time, I utilized the newly discovered timer function. By specifying the time in the exchange conditions, the exchange would automatically occur at that moment. When the time arrived, my arms ached, and 2 wounds opened on my skin, blood gushing forth. I heard Chihiro's sharp intake of breath. I offered her a reassuring smile, closed my eyes, and began to meditate. My goal was to prolong the duration as much as possible. Previously, I mentioned that 30 minutes referred to the time my blood and mental power could sustain. However, by using willpower to slow the loss of blood and mental energy, I could extend the exchange duration without compromising its effectiveness. My consciousness delved into the deepest darkness, racing against time and death. I haven't accomplished anything extraordinary. Saving the world is merely following a script. Anyone else could do it. But this time, I wanted to test my limits. I endured for an additional 10 minutes, 1/3 more time. The world's iron rules dictated I could last half an hour. I endured for 40 minutes. The profound sense of satisfaction made me smile uncontrollably upon awakening. Chihiro remarked that I truly didn't deserve the original Illumi's reputation for emotional detachment. I told her, Chapter 46. It would have been more convincing if she hadn't been grinning as she said this. We won. This time, I knew from the bottom of my heart that we had won. The Ant King is dead, and the Queen is being controlled by the Hunter Association to prevent other ants from automatically becoming queens after her death. They will not kill her until they are sure that all mutant ants have been eradicated. It is a cruel genocide for ants, but sorry, I am human. As for the rest, Chihiro's other's perspective is more useful than mine. With her here, I can leave. If the compensation this time is converted into vacation, I can take a long break. It was almost dawn when I walked out of the door. Looking up at the sky where the morning light was gradually rising, my heart was filled with infinite emotion and joy. This brand new world welcomes a brand new day. Before everything Chihiro his smile. Chihiro often thought that the person must have loved to laugh in the past. He should have a blank expression, but in Chihiro's memory, he always seemed to have a faint smile. He was doting when he looked at Killua, Michiko, and herself, had a childlike joy when he looked at the beautiful scenery in the distance, and was a little excited when someone came to challenge him. But the most lovable thing was that when he occasionally wanted to play a prank, his eyes would narrow slightly. The first time she saw him like that, Chihiro felt that he was really like a big cat, a big, soft, elegant, and mischievous black cat. After embarrassing everyone else, he sat there and leisurely touched his paw, tilted his head innocently, and blinked at everyone's embarrassed faces. Meow. That person, of course, is Illumi. Chihiro called him Illumi ni, and sometimes when she was naughty, she would pinch her throat and imitate Hisoka to call him Little Yi. But in her heart, Chihiro did not regard him as Illumi. Illumi is Killua's brother in the original Hunter x Hunter, the eldest son of the Zoldyck family, and a killer. That's all the name means. That person is more than just Illumi. Besides, he should have his own name. But Chihiro didn't know his original name. The man said that he had forgotten a lot of things, even his own name. That was a long time ago, when Chihiro was killed by him. When filling out the time travel form, although it was just out of boredom, Chihiro still considered it seriously. She came to the Hunter world just to see this wonderful world with her own eyes, that's all, so she deliberately chose those 3 abilities. Others' perspective is for viewing. When Chihiro wanted this ability, she didn't really think of using it to peek. In that case, she might as well just choose one glance for 1,000 years or online game matrix. The remaining 2 abilities, absolute defense is used to save life. When it can't be saved, you have to use limited rebirth. However, Chihiro really didn't expect that her first life was not lost in the hands of the Yorknu City Brigade, nor in the hands of the ants, but in the second stage of the Hunter exam, and it was actually like that. After being resurrected, Chihiro was very angry and a little sad. I believed you, how could you do this? So she used the other's perspective to see if the rule that the bad guys would laugh wildly at the victim's corpse and expose the truth was applicable in the Hunter world. As for the privacy issue, humph, this kind of person deserves it even if his privacy is seen. Then she saw the man holding her body and saying sorry, saw the man's cold self-loathing, and the reasons why he killed her. I see. She was still a little angry, after all, it really hurt when she was killed. But Chihiro felt that she could forgive that person. To be honest, Chihiro was a little discouraged when she knew why that man wanted to kill her. What the hell, I just want to take a look at this world, I don't want to save this person, marry that person, build a harem, or anything like that. Why am I so unlucky? Besides, I didn't come here on my own accord. Who knew that opening a dormitory door could lead to traveling through time? So we have to go back. But Chihiro is still a little unwilling. The four main characters have been seen, Hisoka and Illumi have been seen, but Kurlo has not been seen. Chihiro didn't want to have a touching love story with the captain was kidding, he was risking his life. Let alone limited rebirth, even if he could have infinite rebirth it might not be enough. But no one would be willing to come to the Hunter world and leave like this, right? Even if you just pass by and take a peek, you have to see it with your own eyes, just one look. Coincidentally, when Chihiro used others' perspective to look at the Zoldyck house in that person's memory, she saw the small coffee shop and a regular customer. So, the person Chihiro went to Lehman Town to wait for was not him. Kurlo hasn't shown up yet, but Chihiro is not in a hurry. She just wants to relax here because she has to take the level 4 exam next semester. Then the coffee shop closed down, and Chihiro was embarrassed. Using the other's perspective, she saw that the man was actually teaching Leorio concepts, and Chihiro was confused. Didn't Leorio hate him very much during the final exam? Using the other's perspective to see from Leorio's eyes. Then Chihiro was shocked. He can win an Oscar, the question is should he win Best Actor or Best Actress? That was also the first time Chihiro saw that person smile, a gentle and somewhat tired smile as Sophie. Chihiro considered whether to wait in Lehman Town or go to the captain to see what was going on. Then Chihiro was depressed to find that she didn't know where the captain was. She knew that Gon, Killua, and Hisoka were in the Heavens Arena, but did she really want to go? The same thing happened in Yorknu City. Did she really want to go? She would die. Besides, life in Lehman is beautiful and leisurely, and you can easily get addicted. Anyway, you can still use the other's perspective and there is no need to rush. As for the fact that Leorio was secretly looking for her, Chihiro knew about it and also thought about whether she should contact him. Finally decided not to. Now look for me, what were you doing during the second exam? I'm dead, it hurt so much. She vaguely knew that they had their reasons, and she also knew that she shouldn't expect others to drop their exams to look for her, and she also knew that she was just being upset. But emotions can't be explained by reason, so Chihiro felt at ease and continued to be upset. At this time, Chihiro hadn't noticed why she was only angry with Leorio among the four main characters. She had never seen anyone who could really break her apart and analyze her bit by bit. At that time in the coffee shop, Chihiro hesitated for a long time before deciding to go over and take a look. At worst, I could die once more. I still have 2 more times, she thought. As a result, when I saw that person sitting there like that, his face was transparently white, but his eyes were dark and bottomless, as if he was about to disappear in the sunlight. For some reason, tears started to flow. In the end, the person who should be comforted is the one who comforts her instead. That person is really strong. He had to act as Illumi during the hunter exam, and it didn't feel like a big deal. Now he doesn't have to act anymore. As long as he sits there, he doesn't have to say anything, and he naturally has an aura, making people feel that he is strong and reliable, and that anything can be entrusted to him. Later in Greed Island, when he took out the test paper, it was the same. Even though he had handed over the control to someone else, that person was still able to relax his body, answer questions with a smile, and then overwhelm the whole audience with his momentum. That person is actually very gentle. Chihiro is an only child. I don't know if all brothers in the world are like this. But, really, being his younger brother or sister is very happy. Of course, Killua definitely didn't think so. The little silver cat was so scared that his whole body froze when he saw the big black cat. Well, a little pitiful, but also really cute. Anyway, by the time of the inspection, Killua could already talk to that person normally, so Chihiro was happy to watch the show. In fact, Chihiro herself was surprised that she didn't fall in love with that person. Maybe it's because Hisako was there. Wow, I accidentally saw it at that time, it was really exciting. Fortunately, Chihiro is half a fangirl, otherwise she would have a heart attack. I heard that Killua also saw it during the typhoon, and for a while afterwards, the silver kitten walked like a wandering soul, floating back and forth, which was super funny. But if that's the case, that person was also a woman in her previous life. Chapter 47. It's too scary to think about it. When that person still didn't admit it, Chihiro firmly believed there was something between them. Other people's perspective is truly useful, especially the function that allows you to see what others are thinking. Chihiro was very happy. In Lehman Town, that person didn't smile often, probably because he had been expressionless for so long that his default expression was blank when nothing was happening. But in Greed Island, it was different, maybe he had just let go completely. Chihiro liked to see him smile because he seemed lonely when he didn't. Even though there were many people around him, he still felt isolated. But when he saw them, that person would immediately put on a smile. Chihiro was worried, was his smile fake? Was he forcing it for them? Later, she found out it wasn't. He was genuinely happy to see them. That was a relief. Chihiro secretly formed an alliance with Miki and Kurt to ensure there was always someone around him, whether they talked to him, stayed close, or caused mischief, as long as it wasn't out of line, he wouldn't get angry. So Hisaka? No problem. As long as that person liked it. If it could make him laugh, even if it were an alien creature, it would be fine, not to mention it's just BT Zeta. This decision was indeed the right one. Chihiro didn't know what he and Hisaka did that night, but he was very happy, and that was good. Later in the palace, when the blood was flowing non-stop, he was still able to comfort her with a smile. Chihiro was very scared, she had never been so frightened before. She didn't know there was so much blood in the human body. The ground within the 2-meter radius of absolute defense was completely dyed red. If it weren't for the smile on that person's face, she didn't know what would have happened to her. The man had told her to wait until the bleeding stopped before using the card. But, what if it was too late? What if the card didn't work? What if he died? What would she do? Outside the storage room was a war that would decide the fate of humanity. Inside, Chihiro was guarding the unconscious body of that person, crying her eyes out. After crying enough, she wiped her face randomly and continued to stare at his condition. Believe in him, he will not die. When he wakes up, Chihiro will greet him with a smile. Sure enough, he won, they won. It was the first time Chihiro saw that person so happy, and she couldn't help but laugh along with him. As a result, he laughed at her, and she hated him. Then the man asked for 10 days off, probably to rest. Chihiro couldn't follow because her other people's perspective and another hunter's ability could be used as an ant radar, so she had to stay. But it didn't matter, they could return to the expedition team together and catch up with the end of the expedition. Last time, Leorio casually said, "Ah, the investigation was so hard, we should open champagne at the end ceremony." Then the team leader retorted, "1 box of champagne is enough to buy half a centrifuge. Are you a star or a scientist?" So Leorio shut up, depressed. At that time, the man winked at Chihiro and whispered with a sly smile that, in fact, when the helicopter brought in supplies last time, it included 2 boxes of first-class champagne, the privilege of the big boss. That person was very good at using money to make a point. With other people's perspective turned on, Chihiro searched for the ants that had escaped detection with great vigor. "I'm waiting to go back and open some champagne with you, brother Illumi. Before everything June 5, 2000 The gift. It should only take 1 day to get back to the store from East Gorto, but the airship broke down halfway and was stranded at the landing field for most of the day. Even so, it couldn't affect my good mood. This world is still here, and everything is fine." It was night when we arrived, and we could see the lights on in the store from a distance. I had just talked to Luca on the airship, and she and Andre were still on another continent. Who could it be? It's Kurlo. He was still dressed like a student but had a snake-like Nen beast on his body. When he saw me enter the store, his eyes flashed, and then he put on an innocent smile and said, "We are closed. Please come back tomorrow. yen #FU #Taiwan $ and at $@." I said I haven't been back for a while, so the store becomes yours? You are a real bandit, Kurlo. Do you know the difference between cream and butter? How dare you open a shop like this? I am too lazy to fight him, so I pierced myself with a few nails. Chang Sufei gave him a standard smile and said, "I am very grateful that you are helping me to look after the store, but you should not lock the boss out when you are looking after the store." Thus, the once unattainable goal was achieved, and Kurlo-sen drew it magnificently in front of me. If it were any other time, I would have probably pointed at him and laughed, right? But now I just didn't have the energy. I left him downstairs to smoke, climbed up to my room on the 2nd floor, fell on the bed, and fell into a deep sleep. I slept until the next morning, and when I woke up, I stared at the ceiling with my eyes open, in a daze. I got up half an hour later and staggered to the bathroom. 1 step, 2 steps, plop. I knelt on the ground and looked at my legs in a daze. What happened just now? Kurlo appeared at the door, cup in hand. "What's wrong?" "Ah?" I raised my head a little slowly. "Kurlo, it's okay." I supported myself to stand up, took a step, and fell. I pinched my legs and found that I could feel them, which meant I had no strength left. It happened faster than I thought. Fortunately, I went to the bathroom just to wash up, not to take care of my physiological needs, otherwise, it would have been really troublesome. My legs still went limp after taking 1 step, but this time I aimed and fell back onto the bed. Kurlo took a few steps closer, still keeping a certain distance from me. He had checked my identity when I was with Sophie, and now that he knows I'm the eldest son of the Zoldyck clan, this is already quite peaceful. Besides, I really didn't expect him to help me with anything. But I do have a question. "Kurlo, how are you sure?" How could he be sure that I was Sophie and not someone else in disguise? As a result, this person answered me with a pure smile, "It's a secret." Kurlo's way of dealing with it, not the leader's, so I also used Sophie's ability to make trouble. Stingy tilde how about exchanging the secret recipe of special blueberry pie? Kurlo's eyes twitched twice. I was still wondering why his resistance had weakened this time when I heard him say, "Please fix your appearance first, Mr. Illumi. The way you look now is really visually inconsistent." Only then did I realize that I was now Illumi's body holding up Sophie's head. I take back what I said. Kurlo has been able to hold on until now to remind me. His tolerance for BT is really good. I wonder if it was trained by the cosplay group in the troupe in Hisoka. Well, If he doesn't want to talk about it, I won't ask. I pulled out the nails and changed the subject. Can you confirm the identities of the others? For example, Ellie and Dilai. Cordopi? Seeing Krilo here was a surprise, but it seemed like a lucky surprise. When I heard his answer, anyone except Dina, I sighed. This was such a mess that I really didn't know where to begin. Let's get straight to the point. Krilo? I'm sorry. He paused, his expression thoughtful. You said sorry? What did you do? I can't promise that I won't be angry, but you can tell me. Oh, thank you. I changed your memory. His expression remained the same, but his feeling was noticeably different. One could almost see the leverage on Krilo's side slowly disappearing, and the balance beginning to tip in the captain's favor. He was very unhappy. He also knew that I had no power to resist in my current state, so he gave me a chance to explain instead of attacking me. How lucky I am to come into this world, to get a new life, the love of my loved ones, the power to make up for regrets, and even just partial trust from this person. I have decided. I have thought about doing something before but rejected it. Now I have decided to do it. I'm not originally from this world. I briefly told him some information about the world, the plot, and the time travelers, then took out my phone and explained to him. The ability that the manager gave me is called Chapter 48. Triple exchange. If you want to trade something, you send a text message to a specific number and receive a reply detailing the required payment. It's essentially an equal exchange. You can't negotiate, but you can modify the target or request a more detailed explanation. After confirming, you send another text, and the transaction is completed. Both parties' chips are automatically deducted. Generally, you can exchange what you have for what you want or give your own things to others. In this case, it's an equal exchange. However, if you harbor ill intentions toward the other party, you'll have to pay 3 times the target's value. For example, he opened the draft box and showed him the saved text message, exchange Aluka's remaining injuries to myself. Aluka is Ellie, my sister. This is an equal exchange. You can also set a time limit. Add effective in 10 minutes, confirm the exchange to the end of the text message and press send, and that's it. He opened the outbox again and showed him the one related to him. At that time, I replaced Cordopi's experiences of the past 2 years with fake memories. For you and Ellie, I only changed Cordopi's appearance in your memories. Because the rules determine that this is a malicious exchange, the price paid is correspondingly higher. My eyes moved up from the phone screen to his dark eyes. I raised the corners of my mouth and said, Cordopi is Kurapika. There was silence, and I used this time to try to send and delete text messages. Then someone spoke, and I couldn't tell if it was the leader of the Phantom Troop or Krilo. What do you want? The corners of his mouth turned into a wry smile. I don't want anything, but I have to tell you. As for your decision, that's your business. I can't intervene. With things going on like this, intervening will only make things worse, not better. Ask him to let Kurapika go. Unrealistic. Ask Kurapika to forget the hatred? That's the kid's nightmare. Rather than forget it, he'd rather die. After all, I am not a savior. This time it was Krilo who spoke up. He asked me, why? Why should I speak up? Why should I speak up now? Why should I explain my abilities in detail? Because I'm dying. At that time, I told my family and the Hunter Association that in exchange for sealing the thoughts of all ants within a 5-kilometer radius for 30 minutes, the price was blood and aura. This was a bit too cheap. Even without the angel's breath, the blood in the human body would regenerate automatically, not to mention aura, which could be restored by half with a good night's sleep. I didn't lie, I just concealed part of the truth. In addition to blood and aura, there is another price to pay, my life. Blood, aura, and life, triple equal exchange. I thought I would die immediately, but it seems that's not the case. I'm lucky to have time to arrange my funeral. Bungamekar.versal.app. The Zoldyck family has always lived long lives, and that's probably why I've been able to hold on. Next, I'll gradually weaken, my body will gradually stop functioning, and my organs and parts will gradually lose their functions until I die. And now I finally know what I have been waiting for by not exchanging Aluka's physique so that she cannot use aura. Even this suicide ability can be very powerful if used well, and my nail-operated face-changing ability can no longer be used after exchanging physiques. What a waste. I didn't want to give it to you. This ability is really useless. But you are much smarter than me. Don't trade it. Just use it to ask questions, and you can get a lot of information. This should work, right? I was laughing in my heart. Well, Krilo, there is actually a surprise, but you will have to wait a few days to find out. I raised my hand and pressed the cover of the book. I felt nothing unusual, just like before. Sure enough, aura and aura are two different things. Very good. I'm really sorry that I can't give it to you earlier. There are probably still 2 days left, come on Tilda. I tasted blood in my mouth, and the 10 minutes were up. Then, darkness. Before everything June 7th 2000 the end. When I opened my eyes again, it was still dark. I could feel the warmth of the sun, so was I blind? My first reaction was, oh no. How am I going to read in the future? I couldn't get out of bed. If I couldn't read anymore, how would I live in the future? Then I realized, there is no future. Ah. It's a strange feeling. I don't regret it, I just feel sad that my family will be sad. Kurt will probably cry, right? I wonder if Miki will overeat and get fat again. I promised Killua to wait for him to defeat me, but it looks like I'm going to break my promise. Chihiro has Leorio. I'm not worried about Grandpa and Dad, they've been through a lot. Mom. I don't know how she'll react. And Aluka, after exchanging physiques, she'll be healthy and can learn Nen, which is another variable. I am really unfilial. But this was something I knew from the beginning, there was nothing I could do. If I didn't do this, I wouldn't be able to kill the ants, and it was better to be sad than to die. I also thought about what would happen after the ants won. No one would exterminate delicious food, just like humans would not be idle and exterminate chickens, ducks, pigs, cows, and sheep. So, humans might be raised as food, right? They would be locked up in a pasture, just like we raise chickens. The strong ones would be picked out, their abilities would be discovered, and then, like the beef cattle that grew up drinking beer and had tender meat, they would be sent to the powerful as delicacies. No person with any dignity could tolerate that scene. If I had to watch my family being eaten like meatballs by ants, I would rather kill them myself. Compared to that situation, the current situation is far better, so I am fine with being sad. But now I'm thinking, maybe I made a mistake, or maybe the manager made a mistake. I relied too much on the ability of triple equal exchange and neglected my own thinking. Just like fighting to the point of life and death can force out potential, if there is a way out, people will slack off. If we don't have this ability, can we resolve the incidents we have encountered? The time Chihiro first appeared, it should be possible without the exchange, but there might be 1 or 2 more volcanoes. So, that time had nothing to do with the fate of the world, it just prevented certain personal and property losses. Cordopi's time would probably be very troublesome. Chapter 49. I gave Chihiro the ability to manipulate her own memory, set to activate 1 minute before my death. If nothing unexpected occurs, she may have to live in the hunter world for a long time. In that case, when she returns, her previous memories and readapting to the environment will become a problem. This way, she can choose which memories to keep, which to forget, and which to seal. Give away all you can give. It would be a waste to take it to the grave. I also wrote a statement about other relevant situations and saved it in my phone. The Zoldyck family's phone is mainly used for work communication and has been tampered with so that no one other than the owner can use it. If the family comes, they will definitely check the information in the phone. If there is no clear explanation, the family may blame Krolo as the culprit, which would be really bad. There is only one person to whom I have given nothing. I sent him a text message on the airship, telling him to come to the Waiting for Someone coffee shop in Layman Town within 3 days. I wanted to see him again. At that time, I didn't know that Krolo was here, otherwise, I might have reconsidered. If these two met, they might have fought directly. I still want to leave this shop to Aluka, and I won't let them destroy it. So Krolo's Nen beast will disappear again after 7 days, so you just have to bear it. Waiting for someone's coffee. I'm here, waiting for someone's coffee. But he hasn't come yet. My body gradually became weaker, and I was sleeping and waking from time to time. I don't know how much time had passed, but he still hadn't come. Hisaka, have you seen any fruit trees growing well? I have known you for a long time, and I know that you are a person who doesn't care about apples and can throw everything aside. But if you don't come, I will die. Ah. Never mind. What if he comes? I can't see him anyway. Even if I saw him, what can I do? I fell into a deep sleep again, and this time, I woke up in a solid embrace. Who was it? Familiar shape, familiar scent, familiar feeling. It's him, he's here. Ah, how good, he is here, how good. It doesn't matter, he's here. That's enough. I want to say, I am glad that you are here. How have you been recently? Have you encountered any interesting things? Have you found a new person to fight with? I am sorry, I am going to die, but it doesn't matter. I have done what I should do. I am lucky to be able to come to this world. But that was not what I said. In the darkness, I heard myself say, Hisaka, I'm a little scared. The voice was weak and cringing, not like me at all. But it was me, and I was scared. I was different from the others, I would not be reincarnated. I didn't know what was going to happen next, and I was scared. Hisaka tightened his arms around me, and then his voice, without any embellishment, rang in my ears. He said, "Don't be afraid, I'm here." Yes, he is here, he is holding me. The suffocating fear gradually subsided, and I smiled and whispered, "Well, you are here, I am not afraid." In the darkness, he lowered his head and kissed my eyes. I smiled and fell asleep in his arms. You are here, I am not afraid. Postscript. At first, I saw Illumi, who was as big as the moon, and wondered what would happen if Illumi's personality was stronger. If it was just like this article would become one of the many pits in my mind, and the words that would appear on paper or in the computer would not exceed 500 words. The reason I decided to post this article is because I wanted to give it a try and see if I could do it. I always thought that I had poor self-control and patience, and I worked for 3 days and rested for 2 days. I wrote a blog before, but I didn't stick to it. Of course, it may also be because I was not pushed to the limit, such as the college entrance examination and postgraduate entrance examination. If I work harder, if I fight harder, maybe I will be better. So there are many things that I haven't done yet, and I feel like I definitely can't do them. What can I do? You don't know until you try. Only after you experience it once can you know. It turns out that I can keep writing for 4 consecutive months, writing at least 500 words a day. It turns out that I can produce a 30,000-word paper in 2 weeks and win an award. I can live alone. People can cope with blocked water pipes and separate heating units, and live well even if they have a high fever or a broken bone. It turns out I can do so many things. Turns out I can do it. So, I say to everyone reading this, when you encounter difficulties, when you lose confidence, please remember. You are strong, you are excellent, you can do it. Another purpose for writing this article is a little difficult to talk about. My mother passed away in March. She had a cerebral hemorrhage and passed away very suddenly. Some people may find this very familiar because the first chapter was written based on my own situation. Of course, I didn't want to travel through time, and even if I did, I wouldn't survive, but I always felt that maybe after I finished writing this article, my mother would come back. I had a dream that my father and I were sitting at home watching TV, and my mother opened the door and came in, just like she was coming back from a business trip. My father and I looked at each other, and in tacit agreement, we pretended that she had never left, and went to meet her, one taking the travel bag and the other taking the coat. My father said that as long as she comes back, it doesn't matter whether she is a human or a ghost, as long as she comes back. Unfortunately, I just talked to my family, and it seems that no miracle happened. It seems that fiction and reality are indeed different. Because of this self-substitution setting, the nature of this text is ye and is suspected of being a Mary Sue. Well, no one wants to read my first draft outline, it's too dark. After all, it's just ye, it doesn't matter how why it is. But as I wrote, I found that it's not working, I can't write it. Just like in the second to last chapter, Krilo refused to ask questions, just like in the chapter about Killua, Illumi just couldn't be gentle, I couldn't write it. I thought I could kill people without blinking an eye and showing no mercy, but actually, I can't do it, I really can't do it. I used to feel inferior, self-pitying, self-harming, and self-abandoning. After writing this article, I understand that I should know myself, be self-disciplined, love myself, and be confident. I am obviously a very happy person, living a very happy life. I may have some troubles occasionally, but they are small troubles that taste of happiness. Why am I pretending to be depressed here? I am almost 30 years old. If I don't figure myself out, I will be laughed at by others. Therefore, writing this article is the most valuable experience I have ever had. To all of you who have accompanied me here and tolerated my many challenges, I am truly sorry and thank you. Goodbye. If we are destined to meet again, we will definitely meet again, and that's a wrap, hunters, high voltage sign emoji, open book emoji. Another amazing Hunter x Hunter fanfic added to the books. Massive shout out to the original author, their info's down in the description, so go show 'em some love, blue heart emoji. If you're new here and vibing with the videos, smash that like button, drop a comment, even if it's just screaming Killua supremacy, triumphant face emoji, speech bubble emoji, and hit subscribe to officially join the cult, community. Yay! The Hunter community, eyes emoji. Your support, comments, likes, polls, coffees, everything, keeps this channel alive and motivates me a lot, brain emoji. Oh, and don't forget to check the community tab. I actually post polls, memes, and cult lore there, not just endless sub begging like some audiobook bots, embarrassed smiley face emoji. That's it for now. Peace. And love y'all, headphone emoji, red heart emoji.